Hey everybody, this is Tara Platt and I play Katarina on League of Legends, and you're listening to The Gaming Outsider.
Hey there, Go listeners! Zack and I have an awesome interview with two developers of an educational game called Time Machine Bronzeville. As you'll hear, they're huge proponents of using games as a tool for education. In news, Sony had their State of Play this past week, and there's a lot of new games to talk about. We've also been playing a ton of new games like Senua Saga, Hellblade 2, Paper Mario The Thousand-Year Door, The Rogue Prince of Persia, some new Pinball FX tables, and a run-based randomizer called Necromantic. Told you it was a lot. This is The Gaming Outsider. Greetings, programs, and welcome to The Gaming Outsider, a video game podcast with a focus on our incredible community, which can be found at thegamingoutsider.com. We also have a community at facebook.com/groups/the GoCast, and even a Discord server. You could find that link in the show notes for this very episode. It's Sunday, June 2nd. I'm your host, Scott Clark, and joining me are my good friends, Mr. Zach Parkerson.
Why does it feel like it's been so long since we've done the show?
We did it last week, didn't we? No, we didn't do it last week. That's why it feels like it's been so long. And that's why we have so many games to talk about this week, because we didn't have any chance to talk about them last week.
Games-a-palooza.
Yeah. Also joining us, Miss Alyssa White. How are you doing, Alyssa?
I'm okay. Much better now that I'm with you two. And yes, it felt like an eternity. It was only 1 week. But it always feels like an eternity if you miss 1 week of the podcast.
Alyssa, you can always text me.
That's true.
You know,
you guys can always text me too.
True. Yeah.
I'll get back to you as soon as I see the message, because sometimes I'm asleep and.
I'm still figuring out Zach's schedule. Like I know that, like he said, just like text him whenever, because if he's sleeping, he doesn't get the alert or whatever.
Right.
So I'm still like learning about like when I should text him, and then I actually get a response back. It's usually like around 1 o'clock my time or something. I don't know.
Well, I mean, I just send him a text whenever. I'm like, he can answer whenever.
Right. Yeah. Probably don't text or call me if you want an immediate response.
Yeah, I mean, that's just a given.
Right. Sorry. I just I try not to, when I'm home, I try not to look at my phone too often. You know, I
think that's a good thing. You know, decompress, get away from the negativity of social media and all that kind of stuff.
Video games are better when you have phone alerts turned off.
That's true.
I tried that very experiment. I did.
Yeah.
Well, thank you to everybody for your patience last week. If you remember, we did not do a regular episode. We gave you guys some Patreon episodes with a couple of reviews spliced in the middle. Shout out to Alyssa for doing a great job. It was her first time doing an interview on her own.
I was very nervous, but Sean was great.
You did great. It was awesome.
Sean's good people.
He is.
Also, make sure you save the date. R2V2 is going to be a 2-day event on Saturday and Sunday, October 12th and 13th. We have been feverishly planning for that, and it's been going awesome. Actually, yesterday, CB and Jacob went down to the Illinois Game Con in Bloomington, Illinois, to try to get some more vendors to come to R2V2. This is going to be huge. This is going to be a lot bigger. We even talked to some developers that wanted to come to R2V2 and come on and talk about their game on the show. So we may have some more interviews for you in the near future. I'm looking very forward to that. And the reason I wasn't able to go is because I went to Milwaukee to go to a Brewers game with a couple of our listeners. You guys know Joel Solinsky, my usual Friday night dude that I play with.
Your Gears buddy, right?
My Gears buddy. And Isai Munoz he's in Milwaukee as well. Met up with him, and then Chris Owens and Joel's wife Melissa also joined us. It was a lot of fun. It's a great time. We talked and drank some beer and grilled some brats in the rain. It was a good time. The Brewers won in extra innings by 1 run.
Nice.
Adames had a double RBI walk-off double, so it was great. They're now 7 games ahead of first place. In first place.
That's a pretty comfortable margin.
So. Yeah, but the Brewers do this every season, and then the All-Star break comes and everything kind of falls apart, so I'm not getting excited yet. But it was fun to go to a game. We're actually thinking of trying to put together another game, and I want to kind of let the community know, because Joel wants to put together listeners to get together to go to a game together. He actually has a ticket booking agent that got him the tickets that we got for this game. And he said that if we get 25 of us to all go to a game together, listeners, hosts, writers, whatever, at least 25 of us, he can actually get our name up on the scoreboard like the Brewers welcome the gaming outsider, which would be kind of cool. And then if we can get, this is a tall order, but if we get 250 people to go as a group, we can actually have somebody throw out the first pitch of the game.
Wow. Would you want to do the honor, Scott, as a host?
I would want to. I'm not going to lie. It would be a awesome dream to be able to throw out that first pitch at a Brewers game. I've been going to Brewers games since I was 4, but I would, it would probably make more sense to give that honor to somebody in the community, like do like a raffle or a drawing the week before as a way to incentivize people to come.
I think you got to do it. Imagine how funny it would be for the listeners if you threw wide or something and it was just like a terrible first pitch.
Well, I mean, 60 feet is a lot further than you think it is when you're actually down there, but I think I could do it. But
yeah,
I have faith you could do it.
It'd be very nerve-wracking, but it'd be cool to go out there with my ghost shirt.
Yeah.
Like when they have me on there, I just kind of like pull the logo up so it's all over the camera. Like, Please check out the Gaming Outsider. But anyway, we do have another event coming up. It's actually just a couple months away now, but we're going to be doing an Extra Life event on Saturday, July 27th at Tilted 10 in Rockford. We'll have more details on the site, but we want people to please come. It's a way to raise money for Children's Hospital up in Waukesha, and we're going to play 24 hours straight of video games. We're going to stream it live and hopefully get people to donate. It's going to be a lot of fun. They're going to let us have full reign of the arcade overnight, which is going to be pretty rad. I don't. It's going to have so much Mountain Dew. It's gonna be so hard to stay awake.
Finally, you can cut loose on the Mountain Dew, huh? The wife's away. Scott gets to play with his Mountain Dew.
Oh man, bring on the Code Red. Bring on the Baja Blast.
You should just get a 12-pack of Kickstarts. I know you love those things.
I know. Do they sell those in 12 packs? I can only find them in like 4 packs.
I think
if anything.
4 packs. Well, we can get you 3 4 packs.
Yeah.
Let's do it. It'll just be my drug of choice for the entire thing. Anyway, let's get into some of the games we've been catching up on. Alyssa, anything exciting that you've been playing?
Well, I mean, it's exciting for me. I'm finally playing House Flipper 2. I waited until after I finished Final Fantasy VII Rebirth before allowing myself to play this game.
That's very responsible of you.
I know, and I don't enjoy it quite as much as the first game, but I think that's probably because I spent almost 100 hours playing the first game, and I was, very comfortable with the controls, the way the game worked, and they've revamped it in this game, so the controls are a little bit different. The way you do things like painting or laying floors is different. Like, they've made it simpler, but in my mind, I found it so satisfying to do it the more difficult way, which it wasn't even that difficult, that I'm like, this is too easy. But I'm getting used to it now, and actually getting into the house flipping portion. It takes a little bit to get going, but I'm enjoying it. Now the houses are taking me longer to do. And now they've actually added a thing where you can assemble different pieces of furniture, and then once you assemble it, you get a certain discount. So when you're flipping the house and and the owner wants a sofa or whatever, and you've assembled a sofa, you get a certain % off, so that your budget's not affected as much. New feature, it's not that fun, to be honest, to build the stuff.
Uh-huh.
But, I mean, it's there, so some people probably would enjoy, furniture building simulator that's inside.
Is it more rewarding now that you have to put more time into flipping a house?
I wouldn't say it's more rewarding. I honestly feel like the first game was more rewarding, because it's actually less time to do the houses now, because they've sped everything up. So they've made it more accessible, but I was just so used to the old way that I guess I'm becoming an old lady, and I'm like, nah! Like, I'm going to be screaming at kids in my yard soon.
It's like, you're the first house flipper was Dark Souls, right? And then they made it more accessible with the Elden Ring.
Yeah.
So you're a house flipper veteran, and you want those old bone breaking house flipping exercises.
I did not expect this conversation to go this way.
The analogy. Yeah, I want to paint in stripes again instead of just having to paint a whole section of wall at once. I want to put the flooring down one thing at a time instead of several squares at one time.
You want to earn that.
Right,
yeah.
She wants to get good at the house flipping.
I want to feel like I actually achieved something instead of like puzzle pieces. Here we go.
I respect it.
That'd be like if I'm playing Lawnmower Simulator,
Yeah.
and they give you like they give you the Roomba version of a lawnmower, and you just do, like, no, I'm gonna do that myself because I'm, you know.
But it sounds like
Anyway.
I'm complaining too much about it. I am enjoying it. It's still fun. It's just I spent so long with the first one that it's a little bit of a jarring move to the second since it's more accessible.
Yeah.
I'm having to get used to it.
I'm sure you'll put plenty of time into it.
I'm sure, especially when they
used to it.
when and if they release DLC, which I'm sure they will. But
Yeah.
Is this the one with the
There you
rich person DLC, or was that the first?
that
game?
was the first one.
Okay.
Yeah. That was an excellent DLC, by the way.
So these rich scum out here.
Yeah, but I mean, the
I s-
places were really fun to decorate
To
and flip
renovate.
and all that.
I want to play that DLC and just destroy their houses, and then just turn the game off. Feel good.
Hey, it's still the base game is still on Game Pass, so you could buy that DLC for I don't know how much. Actually, it might be $20. I don't know.
You know, it's just like my mama used to say: if somebody has a yard, they're rich.
I have a yard. I'm not rich.
Yeah, I have a yard. I'm not rich either.
You guys are loaded. No, I know. It's just something she used to say that it cracked me up.
What about you, Zach?
Well, first off, I played and beat Little Nightmares because I saw.
No way.
Oh, I
Yeah.
haven't played that game. I still.
Well, I saw my partner playing it. She
Mhm.
doesn't play a lot of games, but I was immediately struck by. I was always aware of Little Nightmares,
Yeah.
Mhm.
but I didn't realize it's so close to Limbo.
That's why I played it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what drew me to it because it's a puzzle platformer, much like Limbo. Only this is more 3-dimensional.
Mhm.
But yeah, dude, I really took to this game. Really fell for it. The aesthetics are creepy. Even playing as like a little girl in a raincoat, I don't know why. It just feels like, I don't know, makes her feel more
vulnerable.
Vulnerable, yes, thank you.
Yeah.
That's what I was looking for.
Mhm.
And it's great. And the little all the monsters you're running away from are such kind of creepy designs.
Like there's like a butcher, like a
Yeah,
large butcher.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
chefs.
I remember the butcher from the trailers.
Well, and what makes them creepy is they seem to be wearing some like poorly fitted masks because you can see them like scratching under the mask, and it's just like, why would somebody choose to wear something so disgusting when they already look so disgusting?
Right.
Yeah, it's just I don't know, and yeah, and the puzzles are clever and has some really exciting chase sequences that I really liked where you're kind of like you press the crouch button, and you do a slide when you're running, so it feels like
cool.
a cool little movie chase.
Yeah.
Whenever
Oh,
you're
that's cool.
Yeah, really, really.
I need to
like it.
revisit it. I never finished it.
Yeah, and
I
then
need to play it.
It's cool. Yeah, and then this one came with the DLC, so I'm probably going to play that. It's only like 3 hours long, so it's really refreshing. And
How
then,
did I not finish it?
I don't know, man. I mean,
What?
There are a lot of trial and error deaths, much like Limbo. So
Right.
maybe you just got
Mhm.
frustrated with the section or something.
You gonna jump into 2?
Yeah, I bought it it was on sale for $8, so I picked it
Nice.
up as well. Because I'm really excited, and I know they're making a Little Nightmares 3, although it's a new
Yeah.
developer this time. It's Supermassive Games.
It's delayed, I heard.
Yeah, to next year, 2025, shaping up, man.
Yeah.
But I don't really associate Supermassive with puzzles, so I don't know how
Yeah,
clever
I
they'll
don't
be.
either.
And the fact that it's co-op but only online doesn't make any sense because you think you could just share the screen for co-op.
You think?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's nonsense. But anyway, that's all besides the point. I really liked Little Nightmares, and I can't wait to jump into it too.
Man, you're making me want to go back and play that game again now.
It's it's a breeze, man. I think you should just do it.
I don't know why I walked away from it. I think because I was super excited about it because I loved Limbo, like
Yeah.
you mentioned, and I actually liked Inside.
Mhm.
Right.
I didn't like it as much as Limbo, but I just like that style of game and the
Oh, man.
creepy.
I feel like we're in the minority because I also didn't like Inside as much as Limbo.
Yeah, I mean it was good, but
Yeah.
the ending was a little out there.
Sure.
It
It
is
was a-
definitely weird, let's just say.
Oh, there's just something about the minimalist sound effects and stuff in the original Limbo, and the silhouetted art style that just
Yeah,
made it
I love
super
the
creepy.
Silhouette art
And
style for sure.
anyway, yeah.
Yeah.
I is that everywhere? Is that like Xbox and PlayStation, or was it PlayStation only?
No, Xbox,
I can't remember.
PlayStation, Switch, everything.
Hmm
So I have it
It was,
somewhere.
It was
I
probably on
just need to go find.
Stadia.
I think
Yeah.
it was actually.
That was the era.
Right.
Where so
Let's do it.
anyway, what else you got?
And then most excitingly, guys, it finally happened. guess who got a Steam Deck?
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Does his name start with a Z and end it with an ACK?
That's good old Ack. Zachary.
I said start with a Z and end with an ACK.
That's funny. I finally got a Steam Deck.
Nice.
So I have access. You can finally not hear me whine anymore about it.
Very cool, man.
And so I picked up some games right away. Of course, I played Children of the Sun.
Oh, I've been so intrigued by this game.
Yeah,
this is really cool.
The one bullet sniper game,
right? Where you kind of become the bullet because you play as this girl who she has like telekinetic powers or something, but she can remove the bullet after you strike something. And it is just a puzzle game with a very cool aesthetic, and everything kind of looks like you're almost watching it on like a 90s VHS. That's the energy I'm feeling. But yeah, dude, it is a lot of fun. You have to scope out your scene and find out where all the bad guys are, and then kind of plot your course, because the game doesn't always make it easy, obviously, to go from headshot to headshot. But it's really fun. It's certainly simple. It has an interesting little story it's telling through no dialogue, just kind of through vignettes they're piecing together. I guess there's not really much I could say about it. You shoot the gun and then you redirect the bullet, and it's a lot of fun.
But this is like where you have to hit. If you miss, it's done. Like
right.
as long as you get a headshot, then you get to go to the next one.
Yes.
And do another headshot until you get all of them.
And
does it do like a cool, like, after it's done, it does them all like in quick succession?
So what it does is, what a good question to ask. It pulls out the camera above, kind of like an eagle eye view, and it'll do basically connect the dots of your bullet's path through all.
That's awesome.
Super satisfying.
It is very satisfying, especially when you accidentally make a really fun shape. You're like, oh, I made a little crown. And it's constantly introducing new mechanics, like every 4 or 5 levels of new things you can do with the gun and the bullet, and so it's keeping it fresh. And it seems like it doesn't seem like it's going to be overly long. I think it's just going to use all the ideas it can for a bullet sniping puzzle game and then get out. It's nice that you get new things to do along the way, or new ways like your powers are evolving or something. I don't know, but it's cool. And then much more excitingly, I get to play Blood West. This is a
cowboy western game, I assume.
Yes, a horror western FPS stealth game. It is a great deal of fun. It is punishingly difficult. I don't know if you're going to be into it, Scott. But
why not?
But it is a lot of stealthing. It's very stealth forward, which I appreciate. It's got a stealth, detection meter. You don't see those every day anymore.
Hey, yeah.
Yeah. And it's a lot of fun. The creature designs are super cool. There's like a saloon lady, and she's got kind of a mutated arm and and she's got a face mask on. But if you break the face mask, she gets so mad at you for exposing her scarred up face that she just starts charging you. She becomes more volatile that way. So if you get into a straight fight with her, it's almost your benefit not to go for a headshot.
So wait, what's the setting here? I did not realize it was. Obviously Western, but like horror Western.
Yeah, so it's like a horror Western. Sorry, there's like a curse that is spread over the land because some miners found some cursed gold. So now it's like
as they do.
Yeah, and it's kind of transformed the environment. And this Native American gentleman tried to bury your gunslinger because you died, but he didn't do it right. So you've come back. So now you're undead. But you keep coming back, so you now you can use that to your advantage to try to rid the land of the curse, basically.
Okay.
And so your goal, at least so it's got 3 kind of open maps as the structure of the game, and I've only gotten to the first one, but the idea is it doesn't really give you any directions. You can ask this possessed totem of souls, and he'll give you a hint as to where to go. But generally, you just need to explore the different areas around this mining town to find cursed items of gold. And if you find enough, it'll open the way to the boss. And if you find all of them, it'll open up a secondary path to the boss, which is really clever because you can kind of take him. You can use some stealth stuff to take him down to half health before you even get in the ring with him. So that was pretty cool. But the overall structure of the game is, you're going out to these areas. The enemies are incredibly tough, so you want to use stealth. You want to take them down with an axe or something, and you're getting money and experience that way, and you're you're kind of slowly trying to upgrade your character so that you maybe can take some people on in a fight. But the gun battles are tricky because reloading is so slow. Like to reload your revolver, you have to your character actually like takes out each casing one by one and replaces it with a fresh bullet. So it's a really long reload because it's trying to incentivize you to do the stealth. And it's just like
Can you reload while you're stealthing? You know what I mean? Like creeping around and reload while you're walking?
Yeah, you could.
Okay.
And the gunfights are interesting because you can kind of, if you're far enough away, you can kind of dodge the bullets like old school Doom style.
Oh, okay.
Which is cool. I really like the aesthetic. It's very much kind of PS1 era graphics, which obviously holds an appeal to somebody who grew up in my era. And then there's just like a lot of prep. Like there's these like ethereal skull spirits that chase you, but you're going to need silver bullets to do anything against them. So there's really just a lot of like, you need to constantly be aware of what's around you, what enemies you're facing, and what type of ammo is loaded into which gun. And it's just like a lot to consider. And death is punishing as hell. You get a soul flaw whenever you die, which basically is something like you get 5% less experience for everything you do. Forever or until you. And then if you die enough times, they stack and become like a permanent or a semi-permanent curse. And those are devastating. Like I got one that was earned 50% less experience for everything you do.
Ugh.
And I was like, dude, that slows it to a halt. And in those scenarios, you could do things to get rid of the curse. But it is so punishing, even more than a Dark Souls game, right? Where you just kind of lose what experience you have. Like I feel like this is more punishing because it's doing permanent debuffs against you. But what it does is it puts the fear of God into you about dying. So you really do play carefully.
Yeah. It basically is telling you get good.
Right. Yeah, and it's brutal. Like especially like in this first boss, because I'm trying to learn his patterns and stuff. But the cost of death is so devastating. So you really have to be ready for this kind of game, I guess.
It's not even like a Bloodborne where you die, you lose your stuff. As long as you get back there, you're going to be fine.
Right.
But you're gonna have the same boss fight that you have there. You know what I mean? Whereas here, you could have a more punishing boss fight because you died.
Yeah. Right. Because you've injured your own stats.
Yeah, you sold me away from this game, dude.
I'm sure, but dude, I'm loving it.
I'm glad you're digging it.
Yeah, I can't. It's the thing I've played most on Steam Deck, and it was a great educator as well because you learn with it. You really learn the difference between Steam Deck Playable and Steam Deck Verified.
Yeah,
yes.
You have to do a little work to make it run, and the menus aren't perfect, but yeah, man. This for me is the kind of game where I'm not playing it, I'm thinking about it.
That's cool, man.
Because I want to get back in there. Obviously, I'm predisposed to like it because it's a Western, but just the actual structure of it is. I love the creeping around thing, and you don't really associate stealth with Westerns very often.
No,
you don't
okay,
actually.
really.
Like I want to fire down with my 6-shooter, but that's so costly to do. Though I did just get an upgrade that will slow down time when I aim for 3 seconds or something like that. So that's helpful to line up a headshot. But yeah, man, I just want to play more of this game. Love it.
That's awesome, dude. Speaking of Westerns, I got to go back and try. Speaking of Westerns on the Steam Deck, I purchased Gun, if you remember, like months and months ago, and I gave up trying to get it to work before I realized you could tinker a little bit with the controls. Before I started learning that, and I when I first started to try to play it, the only way you could do it was with the touchpad. And I was like, I'm not going to play a third-person shooter with a touchpad for the entire game, so I just put it away and never did it. Then I realized that they're like, you can go online and get custom control maps and stuff.
Yeah.
So I got to go try that again. And by the way, that game is on sale right now, Zach, if you're looking for another...
I got the email about it.
Did you?
Because I'm on my wish list. Dude, the Steam sales are... they're not good for the wallet, are they?
Yeah, they are very tempting.
I mean, especially when you get something that's like, it's like $3 for this game that I've wanted to play for a long time.
Well, it was like the Call of Juarez, all the Call of Juarez franchise for $3. I'm like, well, what the hell? Why would I not get that?
Yeah, I went in and I think you sent it to me. The deal they had, it wasn't on Steam itself, but they were able to be unlocked on Steam. Like, pick any two of these games for $15.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the games was the $100 Star Wars pack that had like 12 Star Wars games built into it.
Star Wars games, including both KOTORs.
Right. So I got that. and then I got Fallout 4, which I already have on Xbox, but now I can play Fallout on the go.
Yeah.
Dude, and I'm never gonna play it. Never gonna play it.
Well, I installed the restored content mod on KOTOR 2, which I didn't know you could do on Steam Deck, so that's pretty cool.
That is
or at
cool.
Least I assumed I could, but I didn't realize it was so easy. You just click one button from the Steam page, and it just auto installs it. It's unbelievable that it's that easy. So that's very exciting. And
before I get into my games, what are your impressions of the Steam Deck as a platform?
I haven't fallen in love with the console this quickly in many, many years.
Yeah?
Yeah, it is. It is so neat. It's got all like even the trackpads and the way they give you a haptic feedback.
Mm-hmm.
So you actually feel like you're moving a mouse around. I don't know, dude. It's so slick, the actual like deck interface. And it makes going through the Steam store so easy. It's quicker, more responsive than I would have thought. Everything's laid out so wonderfully. I had always heard about like Steam communities and how nice how informative and stuff they are, but it really is crazy that there's like a forum for every game. And I know Xbox tried to replicate that, and with less success. But it's just, I don't know, it's just wild that like every game has its own community integrated into Steam. And I'm sure that this is such old hat to everybody who uses PCs, but it's new to me. And then like it's crazy that you can just boot it out to a desktop and use this thing as a computer if you want it.
Yeah, there's even a I have a Steam, I can't remember what it's called. I've not used it, but it's basically like a switch dock to your Steam. Mm-hmm. So you can actually connect it to your TV, and then you can actually use a Xbox or PlayStation controller as the controller, and just play your PC games on your TV.
Right. Oh, and you were talking about like community control configurations or whatever. Mm-hmm. And like some games, it'll just like automatically download the recommended one from the community.
Yep.
Like KOTOR 2 does that. Like what? Like how does it? It just knows to do that.
Mm-hmm.
On my PlayStation. On my PlayStation, I gotta solve a freaking Da Vinci Code to figure out if I'm downloading the PS4 or PS5 version of the game.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. It's unbelievable.
Da Vinci Code. So good.
Yeah, dude. So no, I love this Steam. And it's just the form factor, the weight to it, the size of it. I love it. It's great. Yeah, I
can even hold it in one hand if I have to. Like if I'm doing a long cutscene and I have to do something with my right hand, I can actually hold it.
I know. Well, they do allow adult games on there, so I understand what you mean. Wink, wink.
That is not where I was going with that. Alyssa was thinking that I could see it in her. I'm like, why is she laughing all of a sudden?
No, I knew as soon as you said the one hand thing, I knew Zach was going to say something, so I was preparing myself.
No, actually, more is me when I'm watching a cutscene. I hold it in one hand and I play with my hair.
Oh, sure, of course. And then the Steam Deck also does this crazy trick on your brain where, like I see Darksiders 2, I'm like, oh, that would be really fun to play portably like this.
Yeah, that's every time dude, I follow Wario64 and I get alerts.
Yeah.
And every time a Steam sale comes up for like, hey, this game is like $3, and I'm just like, all right, I'll buy it, I'll play it someday. I'm not gonna play it.
I know, I do the same thing.
It's there if you want it.
I know.
Yeah. It's just, I guess it's a little bit of that Switch effect. You're like, oh, this seems like it'd be perfect on the go. But there's so many more options on Steam.
It's just
less compromised versions of games.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
And then all the time on Steam too. By the way, just randomly games will go on sale. And
plus they give you like Zach mentioned that feature where you can set a game as an alert, like notify me when this game goes on sale. And you get an email. And it's like, oh man,
right. What are we gonna do? Not buy gun for $6?
Right.
I know.
I think it was like $5 when I got it too. So anyway, I want to talk about the games I've been catching up on very quickly. I still playing Slay the Spire, and I actually completed my first
on Steam Deck.
It is perfect on Steam Deck. Actually, it works great on phone. Not gonna lie, it works great. The only problem I have playing it on phone is that game plays in landscape.
Oh,
right,
yeah.
Landscape. And if you want to close the app,
you have to flip it, or
no, it won't flip. I wish it would flip actually because of this reason. But the way that game works, if you've played Slay the Spire, is like it's got your deck in front of you, and you play the cards by bringing your card out, and then doing it to either the enemy or to you. Mm-hmm. So every time I try to close the app, it just grabs whatever card is there and plays it when I didn't want to play it. But that's anyway.
God, I miss the home button.
I do too.
Yeah,
I do too. anyway, I actually completed my first run in Slay the Spire, which is nuts considering how much time I put into this game. It actually rolled credits. I didn't even know this game rolled credits. Wow. So, which is crazy. So I've almost maxed out the second character in terms of upgrades, and I actually unlocked the fourth and final character, which I have not touched yet. I told myself I'm not going to use her until I think it's a her. I'm not going to use that fourth character until I max out the other two, just because I'm just this is how I play. Finish the one I got.
Has this replaced Balatro as your roguelike, relax game?
I haven't touched Balatro, however we're going to say it, in weeks. Not because I didn't want to. I just haven't had time to turn on. I've had my Xbox on for about, outside of Baldur's Gate this morning, I've had my Xbox on for more than a half an hour in the past 2 weeks, just because I have not had the... And the school year sucks, but...
Yeah.
So that was fun. I also played a little Gears 4 on Friday with Joel. We are at the tail end of Act 4.
Oh,
I believe there's...
How are Marcus's tomatoes?
I don't... Doesn't he say, my tomatoes?
Yeah, the locust destroys his tomatoes.
No, we are actually way past that. He's been I don't know. He's been captured.
Sure.
We're on a mission to go find him. I blasted through Gears 4 at release, so I'm remembering very little about this, but it's dude, Joel is all about this series. We're gonna jump into 5, and then hopefully 6 is gonna be announced next week. So
yeah,
he's gonna be watching that closely.
It's like one of his favorite series now.
He said he thinks. I think he said that he is considering it to be his favorite series of all time.
Oh wow!
Which is it's fun playing through something that you love with somebody that's playing through it for the first time.
Oh yeah, well, especially if they're falling in love with it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, especially if they like it. Now, if it's the opposite, then it's not fun to play with.
Well, yeah, obviously, but
dude, I do need to. I only played through Gears 4 once. Yeah, I should get back to that.
Yeah, I've only played through it once.
If you weren't working on Friday nights, I'd say come join us, but
yeah,
that's not gonna.
Well, I don't want to
fly.
That mess up your groove.
No, not at all. Joel is so easygoing when it comes to playing anything. And plus we're playing on casual. Like it's
Yeah. Okay.
I think we it's more like something to do to keep conversation going, that kind of thing. So.
I remember my biggest takeaway from Gears 4 was, oh, they did it.
Yeah.
You know, which after Halo 4, I wasn't sure they were going to over in Xbox land.
And I forgot how much they transitioned into, we don't have locusts in this game, but we have locusts in this game. Like they're not locusts, but they look, act, and sound like locusts. It just kind of cracks me up.
And then for the first third of the game, you're just killing robots, right?
Right. I thought that's what the whole game was going to be, honestly. Yeah. And then
that would have been a big letdown, right?
It would have been.
Yeah.
So I was glad they didn't. And that moves me to this week's Baldur's Gate 3 update. Baldur's Gate 3 update. And guys,
we need like an old-timey reading about Baldur's Gate 3 update from Shot Clock from the front lines.
Oh man. This morning's session, guys,
roll the dice.
was one for the books, man. Yeah? And if you don't want anything spoiled from Baldur's Gate 3, please skip ahead 2, 3, 4 minutes, because this is a major plot point from the main storyline of Baldur's Gate 3.
What's coming in, Scott Clark got down and dirty with Karlach.
I love that voice.
I love that you know the names. It's amazing. So I am. When I left off last week, we were in the middle of a quest for the character Shadowheart, who is a female character in our group, and we're basically following her storyline. So the way that Baldur's Gate works is there's a main storyline for
we told
your character.
Ahead, right?
Yeah, I did.
I was too busy trying to be funny. Sorry.
That's okay. There's like the main story quest. You have your own personal quest. There are side quests, but then there are character quests. Like each character has its own little quest line if they're in your party. And Shadowheart's quest is that she is very determined to be a justiciar of a god called Shar, S-H-A-R. And that's her entire purpose in life, is to become a right-hand person of this goddess. And that's all she wants to do. So in order to do that, she has to find the spear, which we found. So she's carrying around this spear, which isn't a good spear in terms of combat, but it looks cool. And we have to go through these 3 trials, which were actually really cool. Even though it sounds very video game tropey, there's like what's the Indiana Jones movie with the leap of faith type of thing, where he has to walk across.
Last Crusade.
The Last Crusade. Thank you. It's kind of like that, but there's a very subtle map on the ground at the beginning that shows you the paths where they are, and so you have to. I literally took a screenshot of it and then like maneuvered my way through it, and then you had to go to like different totems in a certain order, otherwise you just die and come back. And so there was these three, and then there was one where you had to fight like doppelgangers of your party. So each of the 4 people in our party, we had to fight a shadow version of them, like a shadow link almost of each of our characters. That was kind of cool. And then there was another one that I had to sneak through this area. My character is a rogue, so I was able to hide and be able to see their Metal Gear Solid Kona vision kind of thing. But so anyway, got these 3 trials, which gave us these 3 stones that we had to put on a pedestal to open up to this new area. We get to this new area, and Shadowheart is very excited because she's here to fulfill her destiny and become this Justiciar. It's like all she talks about. She's very serious about it. And so we get down into this area, and this guy Balthazar is there. If you remember, Balthazar is the guy that gave me the minion whose name was Flesh.
Yes,
that I told you we basically used as a meat shield. Yeah, we got him killed, and he's not apparently upset about that. But
okay, that's good.
But he basically is there to help Shadowheart fulfill her destiny. And there is so what the goddess Shar tells Shadowheart that she has to do is that she needs a human sacrifice, and it has to be a human sacrifice of this other religion that is like the opposite of her religion, the goddess Shah. Boy, Kevin's gonna murder me for not remembering this name, but there's basically a priestess or whatever from this other religion that is bonded by magic here, and she is supposed to kill this person to be able to fulfill her destiny and become the goddess, this acolyte or justiciar of Shar. And again, Kevin is letting me make all of the dialogue choices, and so I'm trying to talk Shadowheart out of doing this. I'm like, I don't want you killing anybody. I don't care what religion you are. Murder's not right. I love you, but this isn't happening. And I keep pushing her, and she's like, this is happening. You don't understand. This is happening. Whatever you do, I will, draw your weapon. We'll do this. And I'm like, okay, yeah, no. This is, we're not going to fight, but you're not going to kill this person. And there's even an option for like, I don't agree with you, but I can't not have you in my party, so do what you got to do. I'm going to walk away. And I wouldn't even choose that. I said, no. You're not going to kill this person. And she says, okay, let's fight. Wow. And I had to fight Shadowheart. I killed Shadowheart.
Oh, no.
Yeah, dude.
My own party member, I actually didn't intentionally kill her. I had turned on non-lethal damage so I could hopefully knock her out. But I didn't realize her health was so low, and I hit her with a magic attack that actually hit really well and killed her. You can't do non-lethal with magic attacks. So, killed her, and Kevin was dead silent for a bit.
Oh, no.
I was playing with Paul Hine as well, and Paul was like, I've never seen this happen before. This is super interesting. And I was like, Kevin, are you okay? He's like, dude, she was my side chick. I was like, I thought Karlach was your girl, and he's like, she is my main girl. Shadowheart was my side girl.
Oh,
and like, we had to loot her corpse. All of her gear we were able to take with us, and Paul actually picked up her body, and we were able to bring her back to camp. Like, dude, I didn't know this was a thing you could do in Baldur's Gate. I killed my own party member. Had a full-on combat scenario with her. That is things that you can do in this game.
It's crazy, man.
I just thought that was a really cool story, and we kind of didn't get very far after that because I think all 3 of us were reeling.
Yeah.
Like, this is the first character you meet at the beginning of the game. And I just killed her, like straight up.
Poor Kevin.
And then the priestess or whatever, the follower of the other religion, like, is you have a choice to free her or do Shadowheart's job and kill her. Because of my decision, I freed her.
Right.
And all of a sudden, she's bestowed like this armor with wings and a sword, and she flies off. and she's very thankful, and so the gods will reward you and all this kind of stuff, and didn't attack me. And so I don't know how I'm gonna pay for that later, but it was pretty cool. So
that's crazy, man.
Yeah.
Don't you kill people all the time in that game? What do you care if she kills some priestess?
I don't know. I think it was because of the religion, man. Like it was like if it were someone that just decided they want to do it, sure, go for it. But if you're doing it in the name of a religion, I'm taking umbrage.
Understood.
I get it. Yeah.
It's crazy.
And I really
man.
had to
I did not see this twist coming.
I didn't either. She kept hinting at like, "Oh, I'll fight you for this." There's no way I'm gonna actually fight Shadowheart, and then all of a sudden, roll for initiative, and I was like, "Get out! I'm gonna fight Shadowheart." It was kind of crazy.
Well, I love that the game is true enough to Shadowheart's character that they don't let you charisma talk her out of it.
Yeah, there wasn't even an option. I mean, we don't have we don't have like a bard in our party or anything like that. There was no persuasion or anything like that, but I just thought that was pretty cool. So that game, dude,
pretty cool.
It's just really cool story beats and things that I just never thought I would experience in the game, and I feel like I'm gonna be talking about that one for a while. Like next time a game says, "Hey guy, Scott, remember that time you killed our own party member?"
Yeah.
And then it's weird. You go back to camp and like you talk to some of your party members, and they're talking like she's still there.
No.
Like they don't know yet. I don't know if that's going to ever be an issue down the road.
They're still in the grieving process. They haven't accepted it. They're in denial.
Yeah, that's what it is. So, anyway, let's go ahead and move on and jump into some video game news. Before we get into the news, I need to talk to you guys once again about eWin Racing and their gaming products. Yes, they are a sponsor of the Gaming Outsider, and I'm sitting in that chair right now. This chair is absolutely incredible. If you were in the market for a new gaming chair, I cannot recommend these any higher. As I've mentioned, did not know why they were called eWin Racing until I realized that these chairs were originally designed for racing cars. These are chairs that were actually put into vehicles. So they're built for comfort and speed, apparently. And in 2019, they were designated as the official gaming chair for the PC Gaming Show. So it's not just us. These chairs are very, very comfortable. If you'd be interested in checking them out, you can look them up on ewinracing.com. That's EWINRACING.com. And if you use the promo code TGO, you will get 25% off your purchase at checkout. And it does also help support this podcast. If you like us and you need a chair, what better way to celebrate it? Again, ewinracing.com. All right, moving on to the news. This week was Sony's May State of Play. Lots of new announcements there. It is confirmed that Call of Duty will be on Game Pass. Microsoft and Toys for Bob are partnering together. And Atari acquired the Intellivision brand this past week. Zach, what story would you like to start with?
Oh, man, we got to go with the State of Play.
Thank you. I should have just gone with it, but yeah.
Right. Yeah, a bunch of games got announced here. I want to say at the top, this is one of the worst State of Plays I remember seeing. And
I feel like you and I are in the minority because I feel like a lot of people were super stoked about it.
I didn't like it either, so all three of us are in agreement.
I don't know. I feel like I was seeing a lot of the sentiment of people's disappointment.
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel like we, being a more positive outlook, I feel like we're generally pretty soft on these showcases type things.
Mm-hmm.
Or try to make sure we see the positive. But this one was pretty bad, pretty bad, and it started, I thought, with a game that I thought looked straight up awful, Concord.
Thank you. I was like, I saw the original video and I'm like, oh, cool. We got a cool story-driven game here, and then it's just another. Yeah,
that's what
Overwatch.
I thought. Like, if they would have just stuck with this, like maybe a single-player campaign with that storyline that you were showing in the trailer, I would have been way more amped. But it's just a PvP shooter.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't as excited by the cinematic trailer. It looked like a Guardians of the Galaxy.
I was gonna say it does look like Guardians of the Galaxy.
But it looked like Guardians of the Galaxy. But we designed this by Boardroom. That's what it felt like to me.
Yeah.
Missing the heart of James Gunn, and that's the secret of Guardians of the Galaxy. That's why it gets away with the Marvel humor, is because when the characters do actually take the situation seriously in the end. But anyway, that's besides the point. I wasn't that impressed with the trailer, but then when we saw the gameplay, I almost couldn't believe what I was seeing. I was like, this looks so generic, so bland, so, Overwatch light. It looks like it was approved by shareholders 4 years ago.
Yeah, that's a really good way to describe it.
And that's just, it looks so tasteless. I don't see any heart or soul in this game at all. It looks top to bottom designed to try to extract money out of its players. And it's doing it in the most lifeless, boring way possible. So Concord, I hate to be straight up negative on a game, before you even play it, but it looks genuinely terrible. Like just flat out awful.
I mean, I wasn't going to play it anyway if it's a multiplayer only thing.
Yeah, same here.
I don't stick with those games long enough to do anything, and that's just a personal preference. I'm not knocking the game, but even then, I've got into multiplayer games in the past. I played Overwatch for a little bit. I played Titanfall, had some fun with it.
Oh yeah, tons of Titan.
But nothing about this made me go, I got to play this. I played Apex. I got into Apex for a good while.
Yeah.
No desire. Nothing about this said, I got to check that one out. It just feels like it's too late. Like it's...
Yeah.
The market's already oversaturated.
Well, not to jump too far ahead, but it was wild seeing this and Marvel Rivals both here because of the same genre of multiplayer game. And to see, Marvel Rivals, I also think looks pretty boring, but it at least looked like it had a little more life in it. So it was just really funny. I was like, PlayStation's kind of shooting their own game in the foot by even allowing this Marvel Rivals game here.
Well, and keep in mind too, next week is the Summer Games Fest, right?
Yeah.
So I would kind of assume that there's going to be some bigger things revealed then. It wasn't like they're going to blow their wad at this, or am I
I think you're way off. This is when they would have done it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Because why would they share the stage when they could have the stage to themselves?
Yeah.
No, I think
but it's not E3 season, and I say that in air quotes for obvious reasons, but...
No, I think we have seen their big games for the year.
Okay.
I think so, too.
I mean, I guess maybe Keighley locked down like a Ghost of Tsushima 2 reveal, but I
mean, honestly, there's only one thing on here that genuinely got me excited, which we'll get to in a second.
Yeah.
But I mean, how many of these things were ports to PC? God of War Ragnarok?
Well, that was, if I may, I feel like talking about your PC ports during a PlayStation thing is like a little tone deaf to your audience, right?
Right.
Yeah.
No PlayStation fan watching this cares that you're going to the PC with God of War Ragnarok. And in fact, I feel like more than anything, they're probably just annoyed.
Especially because they had to have a PSN account to play God of War Ragnarok.
Yeah, and I
get
it.
They didn't learn anything.
Yeah, I just that thing is annoying, and it's not annoying because you need a PSN account. It's annoying because they don't allow almost 200 countries to have PSN.
Yeah,
you think you would want to solve that so you could sell your game, but whatever. I guess
common sense. Well, they got to make it safer for us, man.
That's such a lousy excuse. At least try to make your lie work. Just tell me we want to collect your data.
Yeah.
Just tell me that. We want to inflate our numbers to shareholders about how many PSN users we have. Just be honest. Nobody believes it's for our safety. PSN, hacked five times more than Xbox ever has been.
Right.
I refuse to believe safety is involved.
On a more positive note, I don't know if this is even positive because I don't know if I want to play it, but who knew they were still making Dynasty Warriors games? Well, Dynasty Warriors Origins?
They make plenty of Musou games, right? Not plenty of, because they do the Zelda one or the Dragon Quest 1 or the Persona 1. But yeah, I don't feel like we've seen like a proper Dynasty Warriors in a while, right?
It's been years.
Right. I don't care. But I guess
there are fans out there that are probably excited.
Yeah. I'm sure.
I think if I wanted to play that though, I'd just go grab the Hyrule Warriors one, just play that just because.
Right.
Yeah,
I go play the Berserk one. You just got to go grab whichever IP you care about.
Exactly. And I don't know enough about what would that number be, by the way, because I remember there was a Dynasty Warriors 9. They just decided to give up numbering them and go with Origins.
Could be.
I don't know. I feel like they got up to like 11, but I could be wrong. Someone will know.
Then Until Dawn got a PC port, which I'm again happy for PC
it's
players.
Also on PS5 because this is the remake.
Okay.
Is it like, are they adding anything to this besides better graphics?
No. Nope. Just a total hack job. Just getting it out there for no reason. I don't feel like a PS4 game needed a remake. They disagreed.
I will say though, I played that game like basically in one sitting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
On release day.
Mm-hmm.
I barely remember what happened in that story. I could revisit it, but I'm not paying $70 to revisit that game.
Yes. This thing only makes sense that the Until Dawn movie was coming out this fall.
Yeah.
And even then that doesn't make real sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Whatever.
I know people are super excited about Monster Hunter Wilds. Jacob from our team is absolutely obsessed with that game. I just don't have any desire. I don't know why I can't get into that series. But I will tell you what does get me excited. I'm sorry. This made it worth it. This was a fun surprise for me. Astrobot.
Oh, yeah.
A new Astrobot game.
Mm-hmm.
So excited.
Dude, and I was so worried when they unveiled this. I'm like, please don't let this just be on VR. Please don't make this just be VR.
Luckily, I never had that thought because PSVR 2 is a failure.
Right, but the original game was PSVR only. It was a VR only game, and that game was great.
But then the second game was not.
That's true.
The second game was on PS5, but that was, I mean, I'm not going to call that a tech demo. It kind of was a tech demo, but it had a lot of, PlayStation nostalgia, history type stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it was relatively short, wasn't it?
Yeah, like 3 or 4 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah. This looks like a PlayStation Mario game. Like, it looks straight up like it is their answer to the 3D Mario, the 3D platformer thing that Nintendo's been doing for so long, and I am here for it. Like, they're like, isn't he like riding on a PS5 controller at one point, which sounds like a gimmick, but it looks awesome.
His little DualSense Starship.
And isn't there like one point he's flying a PS5?
Yeah, well, there's a whole fleet at the end of different PlayStation consoles that are different spaceships.
Yeah, it's just that's fun.
It looks like, much like Astrobot has always done, it is appreciation and love of the history of PlayStation, and I'm all here for it. Seeing little robot Kratos or little robot Wander from Shadow of the Colossus. Oh man, that's
or
wonderful.
Parappa the Rapper.
Yeah, so
him as well.
I can't wait for this game, man. 80 levels, they said, so probably a nice substantial length to it. Dude, I can't wait. This game looks amazing.
I think it looks great. I'm buying this one for sure. September 6th, 2024 is when that one's coming out. I am
a day one purchase easily for me.
And apparently everybody knew about it but me. Like, knew it was coming. It was apparently heavily rumored that there was going to be a new Astrobot game, but I was watching the direct live and I had no clue, and I just big smile on my face, dude.
Yeah, it was pretty great. I mean, it was just a trailer. It was just a smile from beginning to end.
Mm-hmm.
It looks great, man. Make Astrobot your new mascot. I don't care.
Why not? Like, what else? You don't have Crash anymore,
right?
That's true. Yeah, needs to be some mascot.
Yeah, and I guess Kratos is the closest thing they have otherwise.
Yeah, but he's not a mascotty.
He's not a very good front man.
No. Good drummer.
And I know they keep trying to push Horizon, but it's got real fetch energy. I just don't know if it's going to happen.
I understood that reference. It's not going to happen.
But
yeah.
Yeah, that looks great. I don't know. What did you guys think of Silent Hill 2? I think this game looks great.
I'm actually excited to try it since I never played the first original one, which I know is a cardinal sin.
Wait, you never played Silent Hill 2, or you never played even like the original Silent Hill?
I've never played any of the Silent Hill games.
Interesting. Should do a walkthrough or like a YouTube video of the first one.
I should, yeah.
But I'd say go into 2 fresh. I mean, because they're not directly tied, right, Zach? Like
no, 1 and 3 are tied together, but 2's kind of its own thing. Just James Sunderland trying to get a mysterious letter from his supposedly dead wife.
Mm-hmm. The second one, I had the port on 360. It's the first time I played it, and everyone complained about it, and it was jank, and I don't remember having any issues with it. But I also don't remember any of the story, so this would basically be a new experience for me. But I thought the nurses look really good, like how they're supposed to.
Right? Mm-hmm. I thought it looked great, and I know a lot of Silent Hill fans are upset at it feels like a little more actiony approach. But I thought I saw in this trailer, he was low on ammo and had to rely on some melee attacks. I thought it didn't look like a complete bastardization to me. I thought it looked like a good time, and I'm really looking forward to it. And I don't think it is intentional because I feel like all the character models look a little uncanny or a little off. to me, like almost the art style. Like James Sunderland doesn't look like a dude; he looks kind of like. But I think it works for Silent Hill, actually.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think it is just a product of because the medium, it's Bloober team had a little bit of this problem too. I just don't know if Bloober's great at making good-looking humans, but it actually, I actually think it helps sell the feeling of Silent Hill, so it kind of works in their benefit here. And I really like the medium. My first thought when I played the medium was, "Oh, this will probably make a fun Silent Hill game." So
and it came to fruition,
and here it is. Yeah, I don't know. I'm really excited for this. It's no Astrobot,
right?
But yeah, I think Silent Hill 2 looks really good.
If you had told me, if I hadn't even known that Astrobot was going to be announced in this, I would have laughed at you if you said that was going to be the thing I was going to be most excited about coming out of a Sony State of Play. Yeah, but they chose the right game to end with. I guess
it's so charming.
It is. It's
so charming. Yeah, we need more games like that.
Absolutely. I did
Can we just go back to getting some like low budget games like this. I mean, that's not low budget. It's high budget, but
I really hope this game succeeds. As a little reminder to PlayStation that, we love those, Ghost of Tsushima, Last of Us, we love those heavy, hearty experiences. But, fun is appreciated every now and again in a video game.
Yeah. We need some not so heavy stuff sometimes.
Right. Yeah. Just break it up. You don't have to be one note. I did think Ballad of Antara looked kind of cool until it was free to play, and then I just dropped any interest. A free to play Souls-like sounds like a miserable time.
Yeah. You died 3 times. Wait till your heart's refilled.
Yeah, well, I was gonna
say, back and try again.
I can't trust the boss design inherently. Because I feel like you're going to design them to make me want to spend money somewhere.
Yeah,
and that's not a good feeling to go into a game like that. So that's a no-go.
I did think the trailer for Where Winds Meet looks gorgeous. It's just I don't see myself playing it because it pretty much looks like a Souls-like.
Yeah. Well, you either have multiplayer shooters or Souls-like. It's the only 2 genres left, guys.
All right.
Pretty much.
And the
or roguelikes.
Yes, roguelike. You're right. Yeah, but so overall, pretty bad showcase. But I was excited to get a release date for Silent Hill 2, and
oh yeah, for sure.
I'm jazzed for Astrobot.
Oh my.
Same here. I'll probably be terrible at Astrobot, but it's so cute.
Alyssa, what story you want to talk
about? You both talked at the same time. Zach, were you complimenting me, Zach?
No, yeah, I think you'll do great.
Okay,
I think Astrobot's on your side, and they said they're going to keep exploring like the the DualSense and stuff like that, which is such a highlight of the PS5 version.
Yeah, I'll have to buy it to support, and I will make myself get good at platforming.
You will just pretend it's House Flipper.
Yeah, well, different, but yeah, I'll keep that mentality in mind. Okay, and now I'll pick a story, Scott. Let's talk about Microsoft and Toys for Bob partnering together. Reminder that Toys for Bob made Crash Bandicoot 4, Skylanders, and the remasters of the earlier Crash Bandicoot games, and Microsoft will be publishing their next game. And from Twitter, we have a quote reading, "We're excited to announce that we'll be partnering with Xbox to publish our next game. We're still very early in development, so you might not hear from us for a bit, but know that we're working hard on an experience we're so inspired about. Can't wait to share more. Toys for Bob will still be independent, however, Microsoft is not acquiring them."
Well, I would hope not. They just bought their way out of Microsoft.
Right.
I know. I
just still think
especially
this
with what Microsoft's been doing lately, like
I was say they must feel so excited. They dodged the potential closure bullet and still got a publishing deal out of them anyway.
Right.
Good for them.
I just still think this is hilarious to me that Toys for Bob is going to be working with PlayStation or working with Xbox when they were doing Crash stuff, right? Like Right,
Crash and Spyro are multi-platform guys for decades now.
Yeah,
I know.
That's true.
It's just still crazy to me that like he was the mascot at one point.
Right.
Yeah. Well, they both were, weren't they?
In the
Crash
commercials, like yelling at Nintendo. Remember, like with a megaphone.
Yeah.
Like,
dude, those are good ads.
Definitely stood out for sure.
Well, it's being published by Xbox, so you can guarantee it'll be on every platform. So that's nice.
True.
Exclusives are a thing of the past for Xbox now.
Are they?
They're certainly gearing that way.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
How long do you
that's
think
true.
it'll be before Hellblade 2 finds its way on PlayStation 5? I bet it's sooner rather than later.
By Christmas?
Yeah.
I mean, they're going to need to, right? If nobody's buying it.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, yeah, that's true.
And the story I just wanted to mention, there's not much to say here, but confirmed that Call of Duty is going to be on Game Pass. That's a big deal for me because that means I don't have to buy it just to play the campaign.
Sure, that's me as well. I don't want to play the multiplayer. I just want to play the campaigns and then.
Yeah.
See, I feel like there is a lot to say here. Not to be chatting away on every news segment here, but
No, go for it.
I don't. I assume this will raise the price of Game Pass.
Oh.
I doubt
I
they're
didn't think
going
about that, but
I doubt
that's
they're
very
going to.
likely.
Yes, I think that's very likely, or maybe it'll even be some kind of new tier or something like that. I also think this is probably, if you remember back when they acquired Bethesda on this podcast, I talked about how great a strategy it would be if they did put Bethesda games on PlayStation, because then you would make the argument of, sure, you can play Starfield on PlayStation, or you can play, for $70, or you can just come get Game Pass. Right. And that would have been a great strategy if Xbox knew how to put out games, but they don't. Because if you make that argument enough times, eventually you're going to start feeling silly paying $70 for every game. Right. But with doing it with Call of Duty, it really does just feel like, because they don't have like a strong cadence of releases, that it is just like, no, you're not going to convert anybody.
Yeah. Cause I mean, I feel like, sure, your upfront cost is going to be cheaper, right? It's only going to, unless you don't own an Xbox,
right?
Then you're going to have to pay $400 for an Xbox, but your monthly fee is less than what it costs to purchase the game until you get 3 months in and you still want to play it,
right?
You know what I mean?
That's true.
But again, granted, there's a lot of other games on Xbox Game Pass, but how many people out there only play Call of Duty and sports games?
Right.
You know what I mean? So are those people going to be willing to pay $160 a year to do that? And I don't think that, they're making a big gamble here with this.
Right.
If this doesn't work and Game Pass sales don't increase drastically, a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then I could see Game Pass going away at some point.
Yeah, I don't know what the plan is here. It's just with Call of Duty, especially because I know the sales data, right, is that not a lot of Xbox gamers buy games. Because fair enough, they're trained to wait for Game Pass. I understand that, but I feel like Call of Duty would be a game where people would buy it even if they on Xbox. So
because that's a game you have to get on right away.
Yeah. So are you giving up that $70 for people who are only going to play it for a month or two anyway? And now you're only making $15 to $30 off of them where you could have made $70.
Right. But again, they're banking on, someone's going to sign up for this and they're not going to cancel their membership, or they're going to, on the spot buy an annual membership, and then they're not going to cancel that membership and it'll auto renew next. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I guess more than anything, this is a good experiment for them, right? So you can figure out what people will do.
It's a pretty big experiment, though. I mean,
yeah.
This isn't granted, the Bethesda games have made it to the Game Pass as well as Doom and stuff like that. But those weren't brand new games. This is going to be a brand new, massively popular series, 6th game in the series, one of the best-selling games on the planet.
Right, the best-selling game every year comes out.
Oh, yeah.
And you're just going to do that? How do you do that without increasing Game Pass?
Yeah.
The price of Game Pass. And that's going to ruffle feathers, which I still think Game Pass is a great deal.
Yeah.
The online and all those games, it's a stupid good deal. But you know how people get when prices increase.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
And I still think they're still going to make most of their money from PlayStation. Anyway, right?
Yeah. Probably. I don't know, though, because Xbox is like the online shooter place to be. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like
I don't know if that's true anymore, dude. I mean,
no, at least it was.
Yeah, I was saying this generation, right? Because isn't the PS5 outselling Xbox like 5-1?
Yeah, that's a good point.
And don't a lot of people play Call of Duty on PC as well?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. Yeah.
So PC copies will sell.
Well, PlayStation always had that marketing deal with Call of Duty.
Mm-hmm.
So
Well, I didn't even know the answer to this question, but would it be on Game Pass? Does that include PC Game Pass?
I would think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I would assume. But
So maybe you'll get more subscribers there.
Mm-hmm.
Although we know, can you play Game Pass games on Steam? I know people are obsessively worshiping of Steam.
I don't know. I know you can actually get Xbox Game Pass games on Steam Deck.
Yeah.
So
you have to know a way to do it though.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So.
And it's not that hard. It's not like
know PC gamers are afraid of different launchers. It scares them.
It's just so weird to me. It's been like me getting mad about turning off my Xbox and turning on my PlayStation.
Right.
Yeah.
But not even with the cost, so it's getting mad that you have to open up Netflix instead of Hulu.
Right, but you get Hulu for free.
Right. Yeah.
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 So yeah. Anyway, that was the week's news. Want to remind everybody very quickly before we get to our games we've been playing, the new games we've been playing, about Patreon. We got a couple new episodes available for you over on Patreon if you're looking for some bonus content. If you like hearing our voices and like what we do over here, we offer over at patreon.com/thegocast some ways for you to be able to do that. It helps support the show. We do not pay ourselves. Everything goes towards the community and towards the costs of doing the show and R2V2. We got a new Break the Seal episode that Zach and I recorded on the Lone Ranger in Sands of Time. I finally got Zach to play that game. And also...
Sands of Time? Yeah, it was nice. Thank you for introducing me to it.
No. I got you Lone Ranger. You introduced me to Sands of Time.
Yeah, it was a joke, Scott.
Gotcha.
One day you'll learn what they are.
We also got a couple Desert Island Games episode. By the time you hear this episode, the other one will be up. But CB and Alyssa, we're going to do theirs together, but because of some scheduling, we had to do them separately. So Paul Hine came and talked about their Desert Island games. So CB's is first. It's available right now, and Alyssa's will be by the time you hear this episode. As far as upcoming episodes on Patreon, Kevin and I are doing a trade-off. He's making me play The World of Sacred Device, Evolution, The World of Sacred Device on Dreamcast, and he is playing Paper Mario, the original, on N64. And we've been coming up with some other ideas, and Kevin and I were talking about doing an episode on going to see live music. Kevin has become my concert buddy, and we thought we'd share experiences about seeing shows together and how to do that cost efficiently and what our favorite shows were, and that was actually his idea. So we might throw something together for that this coming month as well. You're going to get a lot of Kevin. A lot of Kevin this month. Again,
we love Kevin.
If you'd like to support the show, head over to patreon.com/thegocast. We do have a new member, Corey Maurer, joined over on Patreon, so appreciate the support, dude. Hope you are liking the episodes, and let us know what you think. With that, now let's go.
When I listen to Kev, my engine goes rev.
Oh, I love it.
I actually went back and listened to the Patreon episode on D&D that we released last week. That was a fun conversation. He is so passionate about tabletop gaming and stuff like that. It was really great.
Oh, can I just say something real quick about?
Yeah,
it is your podcast too.
Well, Desert Island Games, Paul Hine, wonderful. He was a wonderful host. He made it so much fun. I can't wait for you guys to listen to the episode because he let me geek out so hard on it, and I'm just thank you, Paul, for being amazing. And you told me you were nervous. You killed it. You crushed it. So
yeah, he's awesome. He's such a nice guy too.
Yeah. So I just had to give him a shout out for doing a great job.
With that, let's go ahead now and jump into the new games that we've been playing. All right, Zach, this might be the smallest list of games I've ever seen you post on here.
Well, as I say, you can tell it's E3 season because not a lot of games are coming out.
Mm-hmm.
Right at the top, Rocket Knight's Adventures Resparked Collection comes to PS5, PS4, Switch, and PC June 11th. V Rising, survival vampire game, formerly only on PC, now releases on PS5 as of June 11th. And then Roxy Raccoon's Pinball Panic. Scott, I put this on here for you. Coming to PS5, PS4, Xbox Series consoles, Xbox One, as well as Switch, June 12th. Out of this laundry list of games, Alyssa, which one are you excited about?
Not really any of them. I'm just going to stick to flipping the houses this week.
Understood. Scott, you?
I mean, do you have to ask?
I know which one, yeah.
I mean, I love pinball, obviously, and pinball is very score heavy, but I kind of miss the ones where there's almost like a mission. Remember, like Mario Pinball Land or Metroid Pinball,
Sonic Spinball.
Sonic Spinball, where it was more than just getting a high score. It was all about, trying to actually get to places and things like that. So yeah, that's gonna get my pick. How about you?
As for me, though I am not a survival genre fan, V Rising does continue to catch my eye due to its vampire leanings. So
vampires make everything better.
I'm going to lie to myself that I'm going to check this game out and then probably play other stuff instead. That's my plan.
Yeah, to be clear, I'm not going to pick up this pinball game, but if I had to pick one.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm trying to clear the deck. Shadow Vertree, guys, it's coming up.
Yeah, you're going to be busy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so all games will be on pause with that. So.
Yeah.
Okay, so Zach, you've been playing Senua Saga Hellblade 2 on Xbox, which I'm very curious about this because I love the first one. I've heard mixed things about this, so I want to know what your thoughts on this game are, or if you've already completed it, what you thought about it.
Well, let's talk about the most frustrating aspect up front.
Okay.
Why is this not called Hellblade 2 Senua Saga?
I know,
Right.
it's a mouthful.
It's done the wrong way. It's very frustrating. And if you didn't want to use Hellblade in the name, just call it Senua Saga. That's fine. But anyway,
Saga is fine.
one would think. So this game, how to quickly summarize it. Have you guys played Hellblade 1?
I have. I
Yeah.
loved it.
All right, great. We're done. Let's move on.
Okay, so pretty much if you like the first one, you'll like this one?
I mean, it is shockingly identical. To a degree that I found almost startling. Like, for example, do you remember those perspective puzzles that nobody liked where you had to line up the environment?
Yes.
Yep.
That was the only part of the game I didn't like.
Here they are again, guys.
Oh, no.
Don't worry, there was universal feedback that nobody liked them, but Ninja Theory said, well, we love them.
So we're putting them in.
So here they are. Now, for context, I really did like the first Hellblade, and I love the Order 1886, so I'm not beyond a AAA walking simulator.
Yeah,
But-
same here.
And for a lot of Hellblade 2, I was into it, but I think it started to lose me as it went along. And I think, so it's hard to quantify because it is a lot like the first Hellblade. So it might just be because the surprise is gone.
Yeah.
And it already played the schizophrenia trick. And the voices here are a lot more agreeable, if that makes sense. Like they're trying to help Senua a lot more.
Yeah, instead of
And-
like trying to creep you out or whatever, like the first game
I
did.
feel like they
Yeah.
were trying to make her second guess herself as a character.
Yeah.
Exactly. And there's a lot less of this, which works because she kind of came to grips with her demons right at the end of the first game. But it does, I don't know enough about schizophrenia, but it does somehow feel less true to it.
Oh.
Because I feel like if you were hearing voices in your head, the odds of them being on your side most of the time would be unlikely. And they are certainly, they'll get scared or whatever and work against you, or Senua has to do stuff in spite of them. But I feel like the struggle is gone. Senua herself, even if the voices are second guessing her, she never does, and which is good for her growth, right? But it kind of feels like we're meeting a character who's already finished her arc and then spending 5 more hours with her anyway.
So what's the overall purpose? What is if she's not confronting her own demons anymore?
So the crux of the game is you're killing these giants of the land, and they seem to be causing ecological disasters. Like there's a giant who hangs out on the beach, and he kind of causes these tidal waves and stuff. And maybe this is another part where the game loses me, because the first game, the entire ride, it was pretty easy to believe that what you're seeing was possibly not real, right?
Yeah.
Going through hell and with her boyfriend's head and trying to restore him, or it was entirely possible this is all in her head. And here, that isn't. They're leaning into all the fantasy is real, because other characters are seeing the giants and they're reacting to things she's doing with them. So it is impossible that these things aren't happening. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so it is kind of it eliminates part of what I loved Hellblade for, where I never knew if I could trust what I was seeing.
Mm-hmm.
So so that's kind of a letdown, and I tried to I did try to reconfigure my brain to be like, okay, so this is a fantasy setting now. Okay, I will accept that. And those giant fights are cool, and I actually think the combat in general is really cool, though of course it's simple, much like the first game was.
Yeah.
But the way it's directed here and the way, because it's all one-on-one fights like the first game was, and I really dig that. And the way it transitions from one enemy to another is cool. It'll do like really neat transitions where like, maybe it's on a battlefield, so an enemy will get knocked into Senua's field from a companion, and he'll knock over that guy you just killed, so now you're fighting him or something like that. It just does very clever transitions to change from one enemy to the next. I never felt like I understood how the parrying system worked at any point. And I feel like I'm a guy who tends to have a pretty good grip on that stuff.
Yeah.
But so I'm going to be terrible at this game then, if that's what you're saying.
Well, do you need to parry, though? That's the thing.
I was going to say that it's not ultimately necessary. It's pretty hard to get a game over screen. Because even if Senua gets knocked down, you still have a chance to like block one more strike and then she'll get back up. So it is pretty hard to die. So you're fine there. Yeah. And then, but again, the biggest difference between Hellblade 1 and 2 is that there are companion characters now that are accompanying you. So it's not just her alone with her voices. It is a lot of her with other characters, and the voices talk over them a lot.
Do they know that she hears the voices? Is it ever referenced?
They suggest that one character does, but otherwise everyone just thinks she's really special.
Oh, okay.
And I'm not sure is the message of the game that schizophrenia makes you special? I don't know. Seems weird.
Well, the big question I have is, how does it look?
Oh yes, it's probably the best looking game I've ever played.
Oh wow!
Oh wow!
So
you just casually throw that out
there. Yeah, just a casual statement there.
I was gonna say if you care about technical fidelity, I think it is the most technically impressive game I've ever played. And it with a Microsoft's budget and the fact that it's an on rails game, and it's only 5 hours long, I guess it's not outside of the realm of possibility. It would be the best looking game ever. Because I don't remember, when was the last game Ninja Theory made? Was it Bleeding Edge, right, in 2020?
I completely forgot about that.
Yeah, it was their multiplayer game. So if we believe that they didn't start Hellblade 2 until that was finished, that's still 4 years they worked on a 5 hour game. So that's almost an hour. That's almost a year per hour. So I hope it looks pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, but ultimately, and they do new puzzle styles, but much like the first game, they're not really puzzles because they don't ever really want you to slow down, right? So it's just kind of basically pace breakers. There's no way to mess up the puzzle. Mm-hmm. You go to the pedestal, you pick up the item. There's only one other pedestal to put it on, so you're just going to go put it on that. Oh, hey, look at that. Figured it out.
Oh, that was tough.
Yeah, they don't.
Just
a
little bit of filler there.
Right, they might separate the pedestals further from each other, but it never gets more complicated than that.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and ultimately, it was a game that I was generally liking just because of the, almost the audacity of the way they were telling the story and the way the music hits while you're in combat, and Senua's performance is of course exceptional, much like it was in the first game. Mm-hmm. So I was generally digging it in spite of the problems I had, like with the the setting or whatever. But then the end of the game has a plot twist that only works if the game cheated. It has to have lied to you for the twist to work, which would be okay because you have a mentally unstable character, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But again, other characters comment on everything. So unless they're crazy too, it has to cheat to make its twist work, and that is.
Now you're making me curious. Like I don't have a.
Yeah.
I've been on the fence about this game just because I didn't like the gameplay of the first one, but the way it looks.
You shouldn't play this game then.
No, okay.
I mean, it is identical in gameplay. There is not a single evolution in any mechanic at all.
Really?
Yeah.
Man, that sucks.
The way it feels, it feels like it could have been made the year after Hellblade.
Oh wow!
In terms of how little evolution there is. And the
But I'm so
headphone-
curious what you mean by this twist ending.
I can just spoil for you after the show.
Maybe, yeah.
I don't want to be spoiled, so
Okay.
leave me out of.
I'm sure it's a game a lot of people will love.
Mm-hmm.
But that's why it was important for me to let you know up front. Like, I dig a walking simulator, and I dig the ballsiness of a publisher to say, yeah, here's $200 million to make a walking sim.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine. But I do think Hellblade 2, ultimately, it's a 5-hour game, and I felt relief when it ended. That's probably not a good sign. And
Yeah.
you know what's really frustrating, guys? Because it is like a short 5-hour game. There were still sections of the game where I was like, this is going on too long. That's not good.
No, never a good sign.
I never felt that way about the first Hellblade.
Let me ask you this. Which game do you think was more fun? Hellblade 2 or Hi-Fi Rush?
Well, I've never played Hi-Fi Rush.
Oh, well, never mind. That ruins my whole...
I'm too afraid of the rhythm.
You too. Oh, you're not, because you're not you're not super musically inclined.
I'm not rhythmic. Yeah.
It's interesting to me that a studio like that gets shuttered, whereas this one that had to cost so much.
Right.
You know, for a game that was in development for as long as it was and looked as insane as it does.
Yeah.
And they're safe.
I don't understand why they spent so many years hyping this game up.
I know.
Yeah.
Because I think it does it a disservice, because until they said earlier this year that it was the same size and scope of the first game, it seemed like a pretty safe assumption from everyone I talked to that this was going to be a bigger, bolder game.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you remember, the first time we saw gameplay was the fight against a giant on the beach.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So it really
this is way different than what the original game was.
Exactly, right? So I don't think it's crazy. And then the way they would kind of drip feed it out, they showed so much over the years of different cutscenes and stuff. So it was pretty logical conclusion to draw of like, this is going to be a big game. This is like, they're going to take Hellblade and kind of God of War it or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But instead it is just Hellblade 1 again. And I think that's fine if that's the game they wanted to make. But I think Microsoft's marketing led you to think something else.
Right.
So I think that's perfectly fair if people are disappointed by that. I went in with the right expectations because I did read that, but I really do feel like they were disguising what this game really was until very close to release.
Well, I guess I'll dodge it, man.
Yeah.
I mean,
I only recommend it
watch.
If you really like the first Hellblade, I recommend it. It's probably worth getting through just to see more of this world and more of Senua. But if you were on the fence of the first Hellblade, or you walked away being like, oh man, I don't really understand what other people saw in it, there's no need to play Hellblade 2 at all.
So I'll be playing it, but Scott probably will not.
Yeah, I think that seems reasonable.
Yeah.
It's I wish the final Tamim Antoine I'm sorry, I don't. But the founder of the studio, he is creative director of all their games, including Hellblade 2, and he's left. And I kind of wish his last game would have been a little more of a bang than a whimper.
That's fair.
But speaking of games that are exactly like they used to be, Scott, Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door coming out on Switch. Are you familiar with the first one?
You mean the original?
Or the original Thousand-Year Door. Have you played it back on GameCube?
Played it through to completion. So,
okay.
Here's the thing: is like the original. I don't remember it looking like a GameCube game. You know what I mean? Like how you go back and you play and you look at Super Mario Sunshine and you're like, oh wow, this game looked like a GameCube game. Now, sure. I mean, it still looked good, but it looked dated. I never remember. What I'm playing now is clearly up-res and cleaner and all that kind of stuff, but it looks how I remember it playing. And from what I can gather, it plays exactly the same. It is turn-based Paper Mario. It's like the original Paper Mario. This is not a platforming game. It's got the fun, Mario turning into a paper airplane to get to different things. It's got very clever ways to do traversal and collectibles, and everything is it's a joy to play. The Paper Mario of it is a joy to play. I will say I have similar issues that I have with the original. That I'm going to assume that Zach would not have issues with this one, but there is so much text dialogue in this game.
Mm-hmm.
I remember having issues with that when I played it originally back in, 2002?
That sounds right.
I can't remember the exact date, but I just remember being like, I wanted to just go into battles, and I want to go do the fun traversal stuff, like, you know, the new powers that I get to open up new areas. I want to go do that stuff. And here I am having a conversation where I can't speed up the dialogue any, and it's just some of it's great. Some of the humor is
even so when a JRPG, it always like unveils the text slowly, right?
Mm-hmm.
I usually push A to make it pop up the whole paragraph.
Yeah, are you saying you can't do that in the Scott?
It won't do the whole paragraph. It will do it very quickly, like almost not too. I don't know how to describe this without sounding like I'm whining. It's going faster than I can read it, but there's something in my brain that wants all the text there.
Yeah,
like just there, because I know how much of this paragraph I'm going to need to know when to press the button to get through it as quickly as possible. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like if I see the end of the sentence, then I'm primed and ready to go to save that millisecond of time or whatever, and instead I'm reading it and trying to. I don't know. I'm a complainer.
No, I think that is a natural rhythm that JRPG players are going to understand what you mean.
Right.
Yeah, I totally get that, because I want to read at my pace, which is faster than the game usually is. So,
but like I said, it goes so fast that it's not. I can't read the whole thing before it's done. You know what I mean? I'm never having to catch up.
Mm-hmm.
I know what you mean, though. But we know what you mean.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So that is still here. There's just so much dialogue, and unfortunately, some of the best dialogue in the game are in those long sections. I mean, there's some genuinely funny writing in this. It's actually much funnier.
I was going to ask if it was funny like the first Paper Mario.
It's even funnier. There's a whole side thing. You run into Luigi, and Luigi has like a little bit of a story that he tells every time. Then he keeps adding to that story, and it's just really funny.
Like he's going on his own adventure kind of thing, or
yeah, it's like he's telling us a tale of something that he's got going on in his end of the world. You just happen to run across him every now and then, and he just like keeps you posted on what's going on in his story.
That's fun,
and it's really funny. So, but the combat is great. I haven't really hit a wall of difficulty yet. I mean, it does the Paper Mario thing where, you know, 1 or 2 hit points are all you're doing at the beginning of the game. You know what I mean? You only start out with like 15, actually I think 10 hit points. So somebody hitting you with 4 or 5 is a big deal.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like when most JRPGs are giving you hundreds of damage or whatever. You know what I mean?
I appreciate a low numbers RPG.
So do I.
Yeah.
There's something a little bit more simplistic about it, and it makes it a little bit more, actually more manageable. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Can I ask you, how much better can a papercraft game really look?
That's a thing. Is like I don't think it can look much better than this, because if it does, it's going to look unless they actually do like a Studios thing, and actually use real paper for animation. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. So does that mean? Does it look that much better than the GameCube version?
I don't know, because it looks what I remember the GameCube version looking. It has to look crisper,
right?
But you know, the original, it's just flat colors, right? It wasn't like a whole lot of. I'm not saying that in a bad way. I'm not trying to talk down on the game, but it was, you know, there's not a whole lot of textures and, what do you call it when colors blend together? You know, it's everything is stark colors, and it's part of the art style. So very bright, very vibrant. But I haven't seen a comparison. Clearly, it has to look better, but it's not anything that's like blowing me away. It just pops. Right. Again, I'm also playing it on handheld, not playing it on my TV.
Well, I'm asking because when they said it was a remake, not a remaster, I was surprised, because I was just like, do you need to redo a papercraft art style from the ground up?
I don't know. Somebody did.
Well, yes, obviously.
And
it just feels like so, you know, singular in its art style, so unique that, like, even looking back at the original Paper Mario, it looks relatively timeless.
Yeah, that's kind of my point. Is like it seems unnecessary. It just seems like an easy way to be able to play a game that is hard to get a hold of.
Yeah.
Otherwise, because it was only released on GameCube, and that copy is really expensive. So this is actually a cheaper alternative, even if you were buying it brand new. And these games are so great to play portably on the go, because you can actually make a little progress in time. So Paper Mario: The 1,000-Year Door. If you like any Paper Mario games, it's an easy recommend. Just know that this one is significantly longer than the first one, like by a good 10 hours according to How Long to Beat. So, but it follows the formula. I have to collect 7 of these things in order to be able to do this and that. But the characters are fun. The side characters you get, they each have their own unique ability. You can swap them on the fly. Not actually, you can swap them in mid battle, but the smarter move is to figure out when you're going up against an enemy. Oh, this enemy, I'm going to want the turtle shell guy because these guys got spikes on them, and my Goomba side character only has a jump attack, and I'm not going to be able to do that. So if you swap them out beforehand, then you don't have to waste a turn to swap them in the battle. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's a lot of clever stuff like that. To be clear, this is no Superstar Saga, Zach. I know you love that series, that game, and those Mario and Luigi games.
GBA game, I love that game.
I think those are better. This game is still super charming, and if you like Paper Mario, it's an easy recommend.
Also, since I've never played Paper Mario, but I did play the Super Mario RPG remake.
Yeah.
Would I like this game?
This is actually much, much simpler than Super Mario RPG. It is easier to digest. It's an RPG, but it feels like a step up to a harder RPG, whereas the one you played was originally done by Square, and it was like a legit, pretty hardcore JRPG with complex stuff going on. I'm not saying this is baby's first RPG by any means, but it's much more accessible than I would say even Mario RPG. So I think you could easily jump into this one.
I definitely want to.
I just Paper Mario is such a funny, charming game.
Yes, this continues.
Yeah, I definitely got to check out Thousand Year Door.
Yeah, me too.
Zach, I am really curious to hear your thoughts on the Rogue Prince of Persia.
Oh, holy Steam Deck, right?
Right.
I'm curious to know too, because I know you're hyped and you love the Prince of Persia franchise.
I have heard this game described as, and I guess you haven't played it, so you're not going to be able to tell me, but people have told me that this is basically the sequel to Dead Cells. And I need you to explain the game to me, not knowing what Dead Cells is. How does the gameplay work? Because it's not Lost Crown, clearly. The roguelike.
Nope. Yeah, it's a different genre. It's pretty insane. After 14 years of no Prince of Persia games, we get 2 in 6 months or whatever. That's weird. But Rogue Prince of Persia kicks ass.
Does it?
Happy to report. Way into it. Always wanted, it's got definitely got that one more run mentality. You can tell me this, guy, because I'm sure you've played Dead Cells. Is Dead Cells more proper roguelite than roguelike than roguelite? Does it have like a lot of meta progression, like where you're making your character better, then it makes the game kind of easier?
This one doesn't necessarily make your character better. It basically unlocks more better weapons that are available on subsequent runs.
Right, but so you're not giving yourself like any direct advantages.
Correct. That's how I remember it anyway.
That's how it is here too.
Okay.
And most of the rogue genre games I've played kind of allow, like Hades, right? It allows you to put points into yourself to make things easier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's not happening in Prince of Persia.
Interesting.
It is similar to what I'm hearing Dead Cells is like, where you're crafting new items that'll then be available in the run. It'll kind of go into the pool of the randomized stuff you can get.
Yeah.
So it's got that. So your progression is gated by your skill.
Mm-hmm.
So it's definitely So it's a little bit harder in that way than maybe.
Is it very fast paced, frenetic, like jump, twirl, twist, wall jump?
Yes. Oh yeah. And that's why I'm loving it, because anytime there's a background, you can wall run on it. You can wall run in any direction. You can go straight up, diagonal, left and right. You can constantly wall run and jump to platforms, swinging off poles, going fast. The prince has this kick maneuver, so you're doing a lot of like kicking people off of ledges or throwing them into spike pits.
Oh, cool!
So it's doing a lot of stuff to try to keep you in momentum, trying to keep you moving. And I really appreciate that, because the question going into this game was, how much is it going to be a rogue game versus how much is it going to be a Prince of Persia game? And it actually is like a properly good mix of those two things.
Oh, that's awesome to hear.
You'll even find like little doors you can access that'll be like little treasure rooms, right? Mm-hmm. But sometimes it'll take you to a challenge area and it'll be it'll be like Prince of Persia puzzle platforming where you're surrounded by saw blades on all sides, and you've got to do precise wall runs to get through. And you'll be making it by the skin of your teeth or whatever, and you have to flip levers in the right order to get the doors open. It's like actual Prince of Persia gameplay, which I just honestly didn't expect in a roguelike spin on it. So it definitely respects the heritage in that way, which is very cool. And I've only gotten through the first boss so far, but even she uses, like, you have to be aware of the wall run. And like as her phases go down, she'll destroy more of the wall, so you have less wall running room.
Ah, cool.
So it's like constantly, you need to be constantly aware of the functionality of the wall run.
So this is early access still. Are you noticing? Does it feel complete? Does it feel like it still has a way to go, or is there just a little bit of the game available?
Yeah, it seems more properly early access than a No Rest for the Wicked or Hades 2. Where you hear about how those games almost feel done already.
Mm-hmm.
This feels like it's properly needs a year or two.
Oh, okay.
Because there's not, there's only 2 bosses during the early access period. I think right now there's only like 6 or 7 weapons, maybe. And it's got a bunch of different amulets that can upgrade. But it certainly feels like it's getting going.
Okay.
It also. It strikes, I don't know how to describe this, but it feels like there should be voice acting, but there's not. I don't know how to describe that. So I feel like voice acting will be added later. But what is there is a lot of fun. I have like 5-ish hours in, and I haven't gotten past the second boss yet.
Oh wow!
So for instance, it's definitely like a properly hard game, and I feel like there's I don't know what, this is my first early access game really, so I don't know what the proper rules are. But I think there's plenty to do so far, and the story is acknowledging the because a prince has this bola, around his neck that is every time he dies, and he's had this his entire life, and whenever he dies, he'll automatically get sent back to when he was last safe.
Oh, okay.
And that's the crux. But he's lived his whole life with this, right? So he's kind of a reckless guy. So the game starts with the Mongols are invading, or the Huns, and so he's used to just living life on the edge because he doesn't need to care because he's always brought back. So he goes and attacks these guys against his father's orders, and sparks a retaliation. But the problem is he gets brutalized by one of the leaders, but doesn't die.
Mm-hmm.
So he's knocked unconscious for 3 days. So when the next time he dies, it brings him back to, the start of the run or whatever, but that's still 3 days after they've been invaded.
Oh, what a clever way to make that happen.
Yes, I agree. And he's like surprised because he's like almost mad at the bull. He's like, no, it should have taken me back further. But the bull is designed to protect him, not necessarily other people. So for the first time in his life, he's facing genuine consequences for his actions.
And
it
so almost becomes a curse instead of...
Yeah, that's a cool mechanic.
He's kind of... So the way they've integrated that into the story, I think, is really great. And, it speaks to his arrogance. He's going to have to learn to kind of be a proper hero of the people, I assume. But yeah, it's really cool. And you're through your runs, you're discovering more secrets and more of the story. And the game has this like mind map thing where he's trying to piece together the mystery of how because the invaders, they seem to have some kind of magic that they shouldn't have, some kind of weird, shamanistic skills.
Mm-hmm.
So he's trying to piece together like, all of their mysteries and, but so what'll happen is you'll find a piece of scrap during a run, like on a paper, and I'll talk about a prisoner they have. So next time you're on a run, you can ask that boss about like, hey, I know you have taken this person prisoner. And they're like, he's there, he's where you'll never find him. And the prince is like, well, I know Persia, so obviously he's hidden in the Royal Academy because you told me, where I'll never find him, and I know that there's plenty of secret hiding places there or whatever. So it's giving you a little story to go through with each run. And because I don't know if Dead Cells did this, but you can kind of fork your run to different areas.
Yes.
Okay. So
you get to choose to like to go to this area or that area, which will then branch off into like a different path to get to the same destination at the end.
Okay, so this really does sound like Dead Cells with wall running then.
Yeah.
So maybe I got to check out Dead Cells. But because of that, you'll have the information of where you need to go, so you'll pick your path accordingly if you want to make progress that way.
The cool thing about Dead Cells, and I'm sorry to keep referencing that, but the thing I really liked about that game was, even though the levels were procedurally generated, you knew what was coming. Like you knew how to prepare for everything that they threw at you, especially in the early levels, to where it became second nature, and you were just kind of sonicking your way through everything, even though it wasn't memorization. It was just you knowing how to react to things. Is that what's present here too? Like you just know how to react to stuff?
That's how I'm getting. Yeah. That's how I feel like I'm progressing, is the, enemies that used to feel intimidating, now that I know how to deal with them, like, no big deal, or the pathing, or, and the fact that you're not trying to like get experience or anything for permanent upgrades kind of makes it to where, like, if you just want to run past enemies, you don't feel bad about it.
Right.
And that helps keep that momentum up too. That helps you, if you find a really good platforming path that takes you over the enemies, you don't have to feel bad about not getting experience points or anything, because on the next run you're not going to get anything from them that's going to help you anyway.
Right.
So I don't know. I think it's very cool. I'm sure most of what I'm saying sounds like Dead Cells, but
I was gonna say, dude, at some point I kind of want you just to like try Dead Cells and just see by comparison, like, because you got the unique experience of not playing it. You're going to be starting with Prince of Persia, so it's going to feel like Dead Cells based it off of this.
I assume Dead Cells doesn't have the acrobatics, right? Like the wall running and pole jumping and dodging the traps. Maybe it has traps, but
right. And I think there is some permanent upgrades, but it's not like you don't have like a bar that like, oh, I'm going to add this to health and make my health bigger. It's something else. It's been a while since I played it, but I need to go back to it too, because they've also done like that Castlevania stuff. But
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is made by Evil Empire, who did all the post-launch support for Dead Cells, because the actual game was made by Motion Twin, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then Evil Empire did all of the post-content. So they did the Castlevania stuff, and they're the ones who refined it over the years. So it's nice that they get to do a game from the ground up this time.
Yeah.
And it's funny that they just kind of did Dead Cells again, it sounds like. But, they did it with a spin I care about, which is Persia.
Yeah.
Yeah. So high recommendations and it runs perfectly on Steam Deck. So if you want to, if you are at all interested, you don't mind that an early access game might be a little content light. High recommendation.
How much was it?
$20.
Oh, bad. Yeah. Cool.
So Scott, you've been getting your pinball on again.
Yeah.
You've played Pinball FX, both the Pacific Rim table and the tables from Universal Pinball TV Classics. Now, from the trailers, these look really, really cool. Like the Pacific Rim table looks cool, and then I saw like Xena Warrior Princess and the Universal tables. I think I saw Kit from Knight Rider.
Yeah.
Like how do these play out compared to the other tables you've played?
I mean, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this because number one, I know people don't like pinball as much as I do, but I'm really, really digging these collections. I think the universe really is on my side in terms of talking Zach into watching Battlestar Galactica, because it's just a constant reminder to me that Zach needs to watch that show.
I've never watched it either, so.
You too, Alyssa. Like, I want you to start watching it so that you can convince Zach, because there's no way Zach is not going to like this show. There's just absolutely no way.
Well, I just bold words.
I cannot fathom a world where Zach is not intrigued. Maybe not by the miniseries at the beginning, but at least by episode 1 or 2, he's going to be all in. But anyway,
Battlestar Galactica. That kind of bold talk does intrigue me.
Yeah. The Battlestar Galactica is one of my favorites, but I think it is because I like the show so much.
Mm-hmm.
And these are ones where the voices are not the voices from the TV show, and I'm literally watching the TV show right now. So it's a very stark realization that I'm listening to actors that are trying to sound like them instead. But it doesn't bother me as much, but part of me is like, couldn't we just like lifted those voices and made it a little more cool? But there's actual lines from the show, like some of them that I've actually experienced only in like the first 7 episodes that I'm hearing in the show. So it's, so say we all, that's that kind of stuff. I can't decide if Battlestar Galactica is my favorite or Knight Rider. Knight Rider is a show that I was very aware of as a kid. I thought it was the coolest looking show that I never watched. You know what I mean? It was just a cool. The commercials made it look awesome, and I had a kit car, I think. The interesting thing about that table is like it was a little jarring at first because it's a little tilted to the side, or at least it felt like it was tilted to the side. So it kind of took me a second to adjust my brain. But man, the sounds from that, even though the voices are not the exact sounds of David Hasselhoff and whoever does the voice of Kit, the sounds from the car, you know, like when he would hit the buttons in the car, or you turn on his booster and stuff, sounds straight out of the show. And that is an absolute fun table to play. Xena, I've never watched an episode of Xena. All I remember is that that's all I remember. That's a more, how do I say this? Gravity heavy table. Like I feel like the ball feels like it has more mass to it than the others. It's the only way I can explain that. It feels more zoomed in. And then I only played Pacific Rim once. And the reason I didn't go back to it is because my first try I got like top 140 score in the world. And I knew I wasn't gonna beat that on the second run. But that table is a lot of fun. And it reminded me that the voice of GLaDOS is in Pacific Rim. I totally forgot that.
Yeah, I forgot about that as well.
So that reminded me I need to go back and rewatch that movie because I have not seen that movie since theater release, and I thought it was awesome. And they use her voice more than any other, which is funny because it was hardly used in the movie, but it feels like I'm playing a Portal table. It really does. So yeah, again, if you like pinball, these are easy recommends. I feel like if you're just like a diehard Knight Rider fan or Battlestar Galactica fan, this might be the thing to turn you onto it. But I also know I've got friends that are hardcore Deadpool fans, and the Deadpool table is not enough to get them to play one of these. So, I don't know. I hope it will get more people into it, but you know that's how it goes. So, Pinball FX.
Okay, so both of you have been playing Necromantic, another early access title on Steam Deck. And when I saw this trailer, it made me think of Diablo mixed with Vampire Survivors, pretty much.
Well, you can get rid of Diablo in the equation.
Yeah.
Okay, no Diablo.
Maybe how it looks a little bit. It looks a little bit more isometric than the Vampire Survivors, but yeah, there's no loot.
Okay, gotcha. Trailer just threw me off a little bit with that.
So what is the genre name we came up with for this? Is it auto shooter?
I think so. Auto shooter.
Okay. Yeah. I like it.
It's one of those. Didn't we have one for roguelike too? Like random run generator?
Run-based randomizer.
Yeah, run-based randomizer.
RBRs.
Yeah.
RBR. I'll try to remember that when I talk about Prince Persia.
Now, are you two playing this game co-op or just separately? Because
no, we didn't. Our schedules don't line up. It's very difficult for us to play together. But I would like to, but I have got some issues.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I would like this game a lot better probably if I were playing on an actual PC, because at least on my Steam Deck, this game is very difficult to play. I'm not a frame rate guy, and this game is very near unplayable for me on a Steam Deck. Very stuttery. I feel like I can't get out of the way of stuff in time.
So default settings, it absolutely is. I don't know. Did you mess with the settings at all?
A little bit. I made it where I can't remember which setting I did, but it basically made the text unreadable. Yeah.
So I lowered the resolution, which does make it very hard to read.
Yeah.
And I lowered the quality to low. But so yeah, generally it is not optimized for Steam Deck, and I don't know if that's necessarily fair to the game if it's not trying to. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Can't hold it to that standard, but I did. But the bottom line is, I did get it playable.
Okay.
But that doesn't really make it that much more fun.
I mean, I never got to hit a point like you do in Vampire Survivors where like you just feel like a god.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you just never get those. All right, this is the thing to get now. And part of the frustration for me is I feel like most of the upgrades that you get when you collect the gems or whatever it is always comes with a penalty as well as something good.
Right.
So sure, I'm going to increase the speed of my attack at the sacrifice of lowering my character's movement speed, which is never fun. I don't like making those decisions to do something good and give up something give up something else in return. I just don't like those decisions.
I'll issue a counter argument and say I really like that.
Really? I hate it. I hate those decisions.
For a genre that has exploded so quickly and so many of the games feel so similar, I thought it was a nice spin on it. And it also kind of fit the idea of the necromancer, where you would kind of need to maybe like a blood sacrifice or something to initiate a spell. You know, so it did work a little bit for me, and I can see why it's not going to be for everybody. But for me, and this could be a product of the early access, but I had two major problems.
Okay.
One is there's something about the feedback that doesn't, like leveling up doesn't feel exciting. And I don't know if that's like there's no musical note to it.
Yeah.
Or like especially like getting a treasure chest. I like the mechanic where you have to kind of sit on top of it and you have to like actually kind of protect it for a little bit to open up the treasure chest. I thought that was a neat idea. But you know, like that explosion of excitement you get when you get a chest in Vampire Survivors?
Well, and we were spoiled with Vampire Survivors. That game was developed by guys that made slot machines. Like, so they're
sure, maybe that's it.
Yeah.
And I just feel like there needs to be a little more oomph, a little bit more excitement when I'm leveling up, or especially when I'm opening a treasure chest. I feel like that is a little absent. But more problematic to me is I think the idea of this like dark magic school is really cool, but it's basically just a glorified menu right now.
Yeah, it feels very early access to me in terms of like when I go into a hub world like that and I see icons over somebody, my immediate thought is I have to talk to that person. They have something to say to me.
Yeah.
And it's not. It's just letting you know you can talk to that person, which is frustrating for me as a person that sees an icon, a notification. I want to clear that icon and go see what they have to say.
Or, yeah, and you like meet the teachers or whatever, but they're basically just, what do you want to level up?
Right.
To make you know, and that's well and good, but I guess to me, if I'm playing a magical school game, I kind of want to go to the magic school.
Yeah.
You know, and whether that's
or like a courtyard or something. It feels like.
And I don't even know, like, you know, exploring the halls would be cool or whatever, but I almost kind of want it. I don't know, I don't want to project what I want from the game versus what they want to make. But for me, the fantasy of the magic school is going to be sitting in a classroom or something. So like, even if there was some kind of montage of you learning the skill, or maybe a quick mini game to play about you being in class, kind of like Bully back in the day.
Yeah.
I feel like that would bring me into the fantasy more.
Gotcha.
Of being in this, you know, who the hell doesn't want to be a necromancer?
Right.
You know, I mean, come on.
Yeah.
So like this dark magic school sounds super cool, but I kind of want it. I want it to feel like a school, and I think having classes or some kind of mini game for level ups would go a long way. You know, maybe the fee to upgrade is like a fee to unlock the class you need to attend.
There you go.
To educate yourself for the upgrade. You know, I think that would help sell the setting, right? And kind of make you feel more immersed. And
I agree.
And I think that would give me the impulse of wanting to level up versus just picking something out of a menu. But it is really early access. Like, I don't even think you just have the one character right now, right?
Yeah, as far as I can tell.
Which is a little disappointing because the girl on the key art looks super cool.
Yeah.
But then I'm playing as this doofus dude.
Yeah.
So I want to play as that cool girl, or at least a cool somebody.
Yeah, and the permanent upgrades take so long to even get one. I don't know. I didn't even get the first one. It's like a ridiculous amount of stuff that you got to do, and I got so frustrated with the frame rate stuff. Maybe I need to go try it again and really lower the quality, because it was rough. And
it's certainly not a game that would be demanding enough, you think, to demand a lot out of the Steam Deck.
Well, when you get a lot of enemies on screen, that's
sure.
Yeah.
That's a lot of information on one screen, especially if each have their own hit points. We've had that discussion about Vampire Survivors, and I would argue that this game has more going on in terms of textures.
Oh yeah,
than Vampire Survivors does.
Certainly agree with that. Yeah.
So
this is I guess perhaps an example of why early access is important, right? So you can get feedback and improve it from here.
Yeah.
Oh, of course.
And that's something you can do. Is they've got Discord servers and things for these where you're able to go and give feedback, which, you know, brings up the whole argument of like, why am I paying to be a QA tester?
Wasn't I don't know if it's still true, but with the argument back when when Minecraft was in early access, I know that's decades ago now, but the idea was that you pay less to get in now and you kind of help us make the game. And then when it's, if you're paying $10 to get into the game now, it's going to release at 40 or whatever, but you get it for this discounted rate because you're helping us make it. Right. I don't know if that's still the rule. That's certainly not the rule Hades 2 or No Rest of the Wicked is living by, for example.
Mm-hmm.
I know, but most of the early access games I play do state that the price will increase when the finished product releases. So
that's
a lot of games are doing that. Yeah,
because otherwise, you're right, Scott. Where you're paying to be a tester, basically.
Yeah,
but the idea of paying less to get into a game now and kind of help shape it, that's certainly a tantalizing prospect.
Yeah, but are you going to charge people to be hirees to be QA? They got QA testers, right?
Well, that's why they're giving you a discount on the game, right?
Yeah. They pay me my $30 to anyway.
Yeah,
that's a whole. That could be a whole conversation.
Right, that's not fair to pin on Necromantic.
No, not at all. That's just a standard. That's the early access thing, which is I've just always found interesting. Like we just all kind of accepted it. Like I feel like people would have been way up in arms about something like that, and we just never have.
In terms of the scummy things that go on, for me, it's really lesser evil.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
This early access is way better than the other early access. For example, the idea of do you see Silent Hill 2? Pre-order the Ultimate Edition, you get 2 days early access. I'm like, great, early access to a 20-year-old game. Interesting.
That's a good point. So that's the games that we have been playing. That's quite a bunch that we got. We had a lot of catching up to do after missing a week, but appreciate you guys sticking around for this one. Very quickly.
My throat is scratchy all this
talking. I know, right? Want to remind everybody about facebook.com/groups/the GoCast. If you'd like to join the community over there, you can do so. There's a link for the Discord server in the show notes. Leave us a review if you can. It helps us out. And also check out our website, thegamingoutsider.com, for all of our content and all of our written reviews. We would greatly appreciate it. With that, we're going to go ahead now and jump into our From the Outside In topic. All right, Zach, this is going to be awesome. I have been looking forward to this conversation for a while. How you doing, man? I know we've been recording the episode already for about an hour and a half or so.
Sure.
How's it going?
Good. Great.
Yeah. Well, we got a couple of great guests to introduce to everybody. It gives me great pleasure to welcome to the show the developers of Alchemy Media Publishing, Mr. Don Jones and Phillip Mallory Jones. Don, Phil, how are you guys doing?
We're doing great.
Very good, thank you.
Don and Phil are developers of a game called Time Machine Bronzeville, which is an educational game to educate people on the history of the South Side of Chicago. Can you guys give everybody a little bit of an idea of what this game is, what they can expect, and what makes it so cool?
Sure. Well, Time Machine Bronzeville comes out of our deep appreciation and understanding for the history of the South Side, in particular between the world wars.
Mm-hmm.
And we both came along after World War II, but all the people around us and the environment we grew up in was pre-war.
Mm-hmm.
And so we heard from our earliest years stories from parents, grandparents, great-grandparents about their experiences on the South Side or migrating to the South Side from the South, and the kinds of struggles, triumphs, adversities that they had to deal with on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm.
And so we had this appreciation for the genius and the ingenuity and perseverance of the people around us.
Mm-hmm.
We also are critically aware that this community is in many ways vanishing or has vanished, and that it's a worthwhile endeavor to capture that time and place, to reconstruct it, revisualize it, gather the stories. That's the most important part. The stories of people who lived in this place in this time,
mm-hmm.
and to convey that to younger generations. Current and near future game engine technologies give us a tremendous latitude and opportunity to do that very thing, and to do it in ways that are innovative and refashion these stories into the current technology sphere.
Yeah.
So the crux of Time Machine Bronzeville comes out of the Great Migration. Millions of Black people leaving the South for urban centers in the North and the West. And we are able to present these stories from our point of view, from an insider's point of view. It's not the interpretation or the imaginings of someone looking at this, but rather the voices of the people who were there, expressing themselves about what's going on. Time Machine Bronzeville has multiple levels of engagement. There's a macro level, the gallery and the diorama that gives an overview of this place at that time. But there's also deeper levels. The visitor can teleport into scenes, the top-notch barbershop, Pearl's Beauty Parlor, Oza's Deluxe Cafe, the 8-ball pool room. The visitor is placed in these environments, in these 3D, immersive, interactive, and animated environments, and get a sense of what it was to be there. Hear the stories, hear these voices, learn what's current and what's on these people's minds, and in the process get a better sense of how important this place and time is.
Yeah. So, we really envision the design as an exploration. And so one can explore not only the stories, this vanished cityscape, the legends and lore of the area, but, do it in such a way that's engaging and there's a sense of discovery. For example, if one, and I guess if you looked at the game at all, the diorama is that macrocosm of the area, but one can go down to the streets, to the street level, and engage characters on the street level, and begin to hear those stories. And then once you go further into the game, into the story worlds along the gallery walls, that's when you're really immersed and are able to transport into those scenes. So it's we wanted to develop it so that we're meeting people, particularly young people, where they are with this game technology.
So,
and as you noticed, looking at the samples of Time Machine Bronzeville, it's highly detailed, and that's really a key part of it, to really be able to move around in these interior spaces or the exterior scenes also, and actually see what was there then. And really, there's so much material just on the walls, in the photographs and news clippings and whatnot that are on the walls of all these spaces, that you can, from there, you can get a whole other level of appreciation, understanding about what was happening and what was on people's minds at that time.
It was very intentional to use actual archival material. this isn't hearsay. I mean, these are actual photographs, actual correspondence, actual newspapers. So it lends that authenticity. And one thing everyone is struck by is really the beauty of it. I mean, and I'll say this as if Phillip isn't in the room, but you know, the craft of the artistry of Time Machine Bronzeville is really stunning, and it works.
So with those are the ones where you get like brought into the store. I think they're called spy glasses. Is that right?
Right.
And so those were made with like actual archival materials, because it really does feel, that was the thing that blew me away the most, was getting like sucked into it, at 1920s to 40s like old record store,
Right.
and just like all the sound effect work and everything. It really does feel like you're there. And so you're saying that was made with archival material as well as like memories of stories you heard, or is it just like, because it feels so authentic.
Right.
Yeah.
But there's a great deal of archival research that went on in African American newspaper archives and so on, but also original primary source recordings, oral history recordings that Don and I have done over a number of years, particularly with our mother, Dorothy Mallory Jones, who was there then, who was a participant and a witness to that time and place. And so, a lot of this detail comes out of memory, having been in these spaces and have a sense of what was there, and these also these other sources. And our mother's involvement has been critical through the development of Time Machine Bronzeville. We picked her brain for several years, just zeroing in on what does she remember from the earliest time, which was she was born in 1920. So she is a depression baby.
She saw the entire world transform.
Yeah,
yes. And so the depression plus that pressure cooker of segregation in Chicago, plus this influx of millions coming into the city from the South, all these things came together during that period and produced an amazing array of enterprises, institutions, organizations, and this flowering of the Chicago Renaissance in all the arts, which actually changed art and culture in this country and globally.
Yeah. Just as a kind of an aside, our father, who we also heard his stories as well, was a boyhood friend of Nat King Cole, the singer, jazz artist, and he told us a story of when they were kids. They used to call Nat Cole Shoe Booty because he wore a shoe. They were so poor, he wore a shoe and a boot. And so that was just kind of a running joke in our family, and we, shoe booty. And so
that's in the game, isn't it? I remember that
exactly.
Yes.
So we took that name, and that's the name of our shoe shine guy, Shoe Booty, and he's kind of disseminator of information, in Time Machine Bronzeville. But it's just those kind of things that we heard all our lives and we're able to incorporate.
Now, you mentioned that you use a lot of primary sources, and you said audio as well. Now, the audio that we're hearing in the game, is that recorded more currently? Like you took text and then recorded it with current voice actors? Because it sounds really good quality. So I was kind of okay.
Yes. But much of the text that these very talented voice actors used is text that we um, acquired or received from our mother.
Mm-hmm.
She's a historian, poet, author, and much of her poetry is related and disseminated through these voice actors. So um, that was a blessing.
It's really cool and really set
Yeah,
the tone. I mean, even from the get-go,
yeah,
the opening scene when you're in like the room before you actually walk into the bigger room with a diorama,
right.
I felt like I was already learning stuff, and it was, I'm not going to say horrific because it's not like, violent or anything like that, but it was a very stark realization of what life was like for these people
The
in this
drama,
time.
the drama.
Like literally having to pack up in the middle of the night,
Yeah.
To find a better place to live just because things went a certain way. And I'm trying to let people experience it for what it is. I don't want to give too much away, but
Right.
and the voice actors do such a great job of portraying that. It doesn't feel like anybody's reading lines. It feels like you're hearing something lifted straight out of history. So kudos for putting all that together.
Right.
Yeah, that's their talent.
Yeah.
And Don and I were consistently amazed at how these actors took these simple scripts and made them their own,
Mm-hmm.
and really brought to these simple words an understanding of the time and place and people that we had not written into it.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Mm-hmm.
awesome. When you curated these voice actors, did you just just kind of put a posting up, or is it local talent? To kind of give that authenticity, or were you able to just search the webs for anybody looking for for this kind of work?
Well, we were fortunate in that we had several contacts that put us in contact with people,
Uh-huh.
and we were able to offer the same text sometimes to a couple of different talents and see how they treated them.
Gotcha.
And but the voice actors, the sound engineers, of course the game developers, it's in Unreal Engine, and we really assembled a remarkable team.
Now,
Very
so
cool.
so video games I've often thought is the closest thing we have to time travel, and this is a great example of that.
Yeah.
And was this something born out of like a lifelong love of video games, or did you see the technology and learn that like this is a great way to teach the history itself?
Gadgets that do things have always intrigued me. And
That's
so
true.
when the game engine technologies got to a certain point where I could deal with it at all, and that the first attempt was in Unity, the possibilities were obvious. I've been working in various media forms for over 50 years now. I started out with vacuum tubes and razor blades cutting tape with tape splices, and so the evolution through media progressions to the current state has really it's just like coming home to me. I did film animation for a lot of years, and so in the 3D modeling software and in the game engine technologies, it was it's like throwing Brer Rabbit into the briar patch. This is where I live,
Yeah.
and take a lot of joy in the hours and hours and hours that's involved, in doing this kind of work. But at the same time, recognizing the amazing flexibility and capability of these tools to be used for some purpose. Right? So I can bring my ideas and my visions about what something might look like or how it might move or sound and so on. And in this amazing array of tools, actually make something. And that's a magical process, to have something in the ether that's rolling around in your mind, and then through a very disciplined application of processes and techniques, actually manifest something in the world.
Yeah.
That's magic, and that's part of the absolute joy and thrill that I have, in doing this kind of work.
Don, are you the same kind of tinkerer, or do you just leave this to your brother here?
Well, he's more the tinkerer for sure, but our background or our current occupations are in the publishing business, and so we as I said, we're storytellers.
Yeah, definitely.
And so helping to tell these kind of stories that so often go untold, unappreciated, underreported, is Time Machine Bronzeville is an extension of that work, and it's been a gas, really.
I got to ask you, Zach, because you lived in Chicago for a good portion of your
Correct.
life.
Yeah.
I have not. I recognized a couple of the street names,
Yeah.
and some of the areas just from from when I've been there for sports games or going to visit friends. Did you recognize like any of the streets or areas? Was this like a little bit of coming home?
Vaguely, it's my first apartment in Chicago was on the South Side, but I think I certainly recognize street names and stuff. But what I was more struck by was that I felt like I lived, in proximity to this area, but I had never heard of Bronzeville, and I know I wasn't in my education years when I lived there, I guess, but it's still like I was just kind of struck by what felt like history failing this neighborhood, which was obviously so important, especially, just even generally to arts and culture, to be something that I felt like it was just...
just the whole idea of recreating this vanished cityscape. For example, at the corner now of 63rd and Cottage Grove, for the past 20 or 30 years, it's been a vacant lot.
Yeah.
No one would know that 50 years ago, the Persian Hotel was probably the seminal venue for music and culture and street life and everything else. Count Basie, Duke Ellington. They had 3 or 4 different music venues, and that. It's just tremendous history there. And if in a generation or more has passed, and all they've ever known on that corner was a vacant lot. And so, that's the kind of thing that we're able to disclose and disclose in a way that's engaging and exploratory, and just as I said, as that sense of discovery.
Yeah, it's as a movie fan, even just learning that like the Regal in Bronzeville had black management, pre-civil rights movement. I don't know. That's feels like stuff we should learn.
Yeah, that was a very big deal.
Yeah.
For the Regal to have black ushers.
Yeah.
Very big deal.
Yeah.
And also South Center Department Store, which was next door to the Regal, their staff was also black, and that was tremendous, because by and large, black people did not go downtown.
Yeah, you couldn't go to Marshall Fields or or Carson Perry Scott, or you had to. That the whole period was a time of making a way out of no way, and so many of the forms and templates that Black folks had used in the South to cope and manage. They brought with them north, and so there's the societies and the social clubs and the music venue, everything. It's really fascinating.
Well, and for those that aren't familiar with the game, again, it's called Time Machine Bronzeville. The way that I would describe it is it's an interactive, and I mean this in a good way. It's an interactive museum exhibit. You walk into a room, and there's a massive model with a train going all the way around it of this section of South Side of Chicago, and there are posters and everything all around the wall. You walk around and you interact with everything. And if you imagine a museum that may have a button you go and press, and then you hear some dialogue or a video plays or something like that. It's all done, but you're actually walking around in this virtual room, interacting with the posters, interacting with the diorama, and the game portion of it is trying to find everything.
That's what makes it so clever, because you hear museum exhibit, you might think droll or boring, right? But it does,
right.
Yes, but it appeals to our gamer brains, because you have every time you interact with something, it ticks it off. It's like 2 of 38 galleries or whatever. And there are just so many little surprises you wouldn't expect either. I don't want to give anything away, or I'll give one thing away. You can ride the L train, and I was like, oh my God, I'm back. And it felt, but there's so many secrets almost. So it really, it works as a video game, as it's more exciting than a museum exhibit would lead you to believe. It's kind of how you wish going to the museum was. If I get a little achievement at the end of checking out all the exhibits, I bet I would do it more often.
Well, yeah, like whenever we take my students to the museum, we go to the Milwaukee Museum for my 4th graders, and we used to give them like a scavenger hunt, like a little worksheet kind of thing where they try to find something and they have to mark it down that they saw it, or that they get to answer a question from the exhibit. That way, like if I were a kid, I'd be like, I want to get everything on that list. I want to find everything, but it's also tricking them into learning, for lack of a better way to say it. And that's what this game is doing for me, is it's making me want to discover everything, to be able to check everything off the list and then learn and read.
Well, say I'm 33, but I still wanted to make sure I got all the rides, in the Time Machine Bronzeville.
Oh yeah.
So it still works.
Nice. Very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
And I can also proudly say that both Zach and I we don't have PCs, but we've been playing on the Steam Deck. And I can let everybody know that if you are a Steam Deck only player, this works just perfectly fine on the Steam Deck.
We all of our testing was done on Steam Deck.
Oh, was it? Okay.
So, I'm very confident about how it runs on Steam Deck.
That's why it's a flawless experience. Got it.
Exactly. It's actually the first game I played on Steam Deck where I prefer to use the touchpad instead of the joystick, because I'm as a third-person player, I'm used to using the right joystick to look around, and because I wanted to have that precise movement to be able to locate the cities, I didn't realize until way later in the game that I could hold down the L button and highlight things, and then I was kind of doing a pixel hunt, and it made it a lot easier to go find that kind of stuff. So it's a great little history lesson, and I hope that there's more of this coming down the line. Maybe even like in the future, something like on the VR front, where people can actually walk into these worlds and walk around and see it virtually.
That's our ambition.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So we've had discussions with the game engine developers about that very proposition, and so that's certainly an ambition for us.
Mm-hmm.
Also, Time Machine Bronzeville is the first in what we envision as a series of Time Machine episodes. And dealing with other cities, Memphis, Baltimore, Detroit, Pittsburgh, Cleveland, Philadelphia, all these cities have their own stories and their own developments that in some cases preceded the Great Migration, during that period, after that period. They all have the same quality and depth of stories to tell about African American experience in these locations during the 20th century.
Yeah. I got a couple questions for you from our community, if you guys don't mind. Brandon Smith is a friend of ours that actually is a developer himself. He said he loves the idea of using video games like this for educational purposes. My question is, are you currently working on getting this into schools? And if so, what challenges might have you encountered?
Getting past the gatekeepers and really just getting their attention. As a practical matter, I mean, this should be in Chicago public schools. It should be in Rockford public schools.
Yeah.
So it's a process, and the the sales cycle for these places is not easily breached. So we're certainly open to any and all suggestions about how to get it done, but it needs to be.
Do you find resistance, like they don't want the history being told, or is it just getting into that sales cycle?
It's just a matter of getting somebody's attention. I mean, once somebody sees it and understands it and sees it, I mean, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
It kind of sells itself, but it's just the awareness. It's just a matter of awareness.
I'm reminded of some instances where in the past several years, we have exposed the work in progress to various audiences. And the older audience immediately recognizes their own stories in this piece. And they just are so appreciative of hearing and seeing themselves and things that they know about and heard about being presented in this way. Younger audiences, middle school, high school students, their immediate response is to the gaming aspect of it. And it's not really a typical game. But,
it's not Fortnite.
Right. But they respond to the detail of the environments, the possibility of interaction, the possibility of making a change. Your action causes something to change. And so they're playing that way first. And then this other part can slip in.
Yeah, I can tell you from experience, I've been teaching elementary for about 11 years now. Standing up in front of kids and talking to them to teach them doesn't work with this generation. They want to be involved in some way. So even if it's just giving them the tools to be able to walk around in an environment and be able to see the information that they want to see goes a long way. I can't speak for middle school and high school because I'm not licensed to teach those. But yeah, the interactivity and the connection to something that they already love, which is video games, at least most of them love to play video games, is huge. And I think we'll get into that when we talk about video games as education. Right. So man, I hope there's something I can do. I'm going to try to connect you guys with some people in my school district and see if it's something we can't make happen. But we'll talk afterwards for sure.
Fantastic.
Mark, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, it is along the lines of Time Machine Bronzeville as game. We are currently, along with these other locations we're exploring, we are currently looking at an extension of Time Machine Bronzeville, which, kind of as a working title is Time Machine Reunion Quest, that really brings more of a game element into it.
Okay.
Whereas the visitor, the player, is afforded clues and is in search of long lost relative that they've been impacted by the migration, and so along with all the other aspects of Time Machine Bronzeville, there's also this quest that goes on where one assembles clues and follows a path, another path through all this material.
Well, plus that would force you to actually read everything. You know what I mean? As opposed to, because you could technically just click off of the thing and check it off your list and not read the material. You know, so if they actually have to have a clue in order to be able to get to the next clue,
exactly,
then you're they're going to have to read it. So that's pretty cool.
Exactly.
And also a lot of this quest path is in interaction with characters in the scenes.
Mm-hmm.
So the characters speak to the visitor and impart certain information. I hear you're looking for so-and-so. Why don't you go next door and to Cool Papa Joe's joint?
Course, yeah.
And, they know something over there and so on.
I like it.
So it gets, we're looking at really adding a whole other level of engagement, complexity, detail, involvement, mystery, discovery.
Yeah.
It's for us, it's a very interesting challenge.
Mm-hmm.
It's you should see my mind maps for this quest level. It's quite involved.
I believe it.
That's
That
awesome.
would make you feel like part of the world, no doubt. Getting yeah.
Yes,
Exactly.
because it's immediate.
Right.
Exactly.
Somebody walks up to you and you're standing on the street and says something to you.
Yeah.
And and that you can
And you act
follow
on
their
that. Right.
yeah, or not.
Right.
Right. There's always that not act on.
Oh boy, that's too much mind map. The idea of having to find passive failure. Yeah.
We had another question from one of our listeners, Mark Szymanski. He says, I'll ask the classic, what were your inspirations that led you to wanting to use video games as educational tools?
Capability, possibility, and the newness of the technologies. And by that I mean there is room for makers to invent and to determine how these technologies get used. And that I find very exciting and interesting to deal with. The tools are very flexible. A violin and a bow is very flexible.
Mm-hmm.
It's how it's used. A piano, a drum set, chisel, and a hammer. These are potentially very flexible and capable tools, and they allow the maker to who knows how to use them, first of all, to then use them to fashion their own vision
Right.
in a medium.
And it doesn't have to be all zombies. And,
Mm-hmm.
That is nice.
Yeah, that was one of the things that stood out to me in the original email was this game has no shooting. It was like in all bold capital letters. I was like, okay, yeah, I'm with you.
I mean, we talk on the show pretty often about wanting more games to have non-violent stories. The primary verb of video games is kill. It would be nice to expand that a little bit, and this is a great example of that.
For sure. I had one other question for you guys from another listener. Paul Hine said, my question would be, what games do or can you point to as excellent examples of educational games?
I really would struggle with that.
I would too, to be honest with you.
I mean, Oregon Trail's great.
I don't. I've heard of that.
Yeah.
I am not a prolific gamer.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I played Myst
Yeah, there you go.
in the mid-90s, World of Warcraft a couple of years later, and L.A. Noire.
Oh, man. L.A. Noire is so good.
Yeah. And each of those I approached as a research project and would devote up to 30 days and nights on the one game and treat it as this is informing me about what this technology can do at the moment. And so there's a lot that I don't know. I was, for non-education reasons, I was really blown away by Assassin's Creed, particularly the one during Paris during the Revolution.
Oh, yeah.
I thought that was so neat. You know, I really enjoy the possibility of I can go this way and follow the main path, or I can go this way, or I could stop and do something else over here. And L.A. Noire had that as well. You know, that ability to find my own way through some of it, you know, as well as following the intended paths, but that flexibility and that agency that the player has to put this whole thing together the way they want to put it together, I think is very intriguing and something that I am always looking for building into the design.
I could have had 1,000 guesses about what game you would have said before I got to L.A. Noire. That is you just kind of made my day. And now that you say that, I kind of see a little bit of L.A. Noire in Time Machine Bronzeville in terms of design and structure. So,
nice.
Like a light bulb just kind of went off when you said that. Part of me was kind of hoping you were going to mention a game called BioShock. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that.
I've heard of it.
It takes place in the same time period, you know, like 20s, 30s, 40s. And some of the font that you used in the game is the same font that they used in BioShock. And even the song I Didn't Care that was used in Time Machine Bronzeville was used a lot in BioShock because it was from the same era. So,
nice.
You know, getting that record. It's sad that I get that recognition of this part of history from a game that has nothing to do with Chicago. But there you have it. So, what about you, Don? Do you have any educational games or games that you would consider to be great educational games?
Phillip really hit on them. You know, L.A. Noire was a big one for us. I mean, as we, you know, he got familiarized with it first, and in fact, then he shipped me his Xbox so I could play it. But yeah, that really set kind of the aesthetic tone of where we wanted to go with Time Machine Bronzeville.
I can definitely tell that for sure. Last question I got for you before we kind of shift gears and go into our topic is, you know, everybody that might be interested in checking out Time Machine Bronzeville, where can they find it? And can you give them a price point?
Yeah, well, we launched on Steam. And so if you just Google Time Machine Bronzeville on Steam, it'll take you right there. It's retail is $24.99. Steam does have sales. Periodically.
Famous for them.
Yeah. So there's one. There'll be one soon, I'm sure. But you know, just Google Time Machine Bronzeville. Time Machine Bronzeville on Steam, Time Machine Bronzeville, you'll find it.
All right. Well, before we let you guys go, I want to pick your brains a little bit because it was almost fortuitous. They got this email about getting a chance to talk to you guys, being how I am an educator myself and a lover of video games. I actually did a project when I was an undergrad. I had technology in the classroom, and I had a whole presentation about how I thought that video games one day were going to be a part of education, not just because I like play video games and not just for the fun of it, but I considered it to be the future of education. There's a film that came out a while ago called Ready Player One. Actually, it was a book first by Ernest Cline, and they turned it into a film. But in the book, they used these virtual reality headsets to attend classes. Like everybody in the world had these virtual reality headsets. So instead of actually going to school, you just logged in and you interacted with things. In my mind, I kind of see that as being the future of education. If we ever have another pandemic or something, it's going to be a must, right? Like, those kinds of things where people want to stay away from each other for germs. But even more deeply than that is I've been wanting to have this conversation with people for such a long time. There are so many educational video games out there that I could name, but I feel like they never hit the mark in terms of being fun and educational at the same time. Zach mentioned Oregon Trail. When I was a kid, that was fun and educational because you were going on a trek. You had a mission to get from one end of the country to the other. You had to hunt buffalo. You had to keep your family alive. You had to keep them watered and all this kind of good stuff. And it was fun to do it and fun to try it. And I was indirectly learning. I didn't realize I was learning while I was doing it.
Right.
And my issue with current educational video games is that they turn into watching a video and then answering some multiple choice questions, and then you get rewarded with a little arcade game. And to me, that's not as cool. It's like I'm going to give you one thing that is not fun at all, and then you're going to get a little taste of something that's fun, and then you're going to go back to the non-fun stuff. You guys have figured out a way to kind of marry those two things together, and to me, that is the future of educational games. What would you suggest? What would you suggest to other developers to kind of crack that nut that you guys have cracked so far?
Imagination,
Yeah.
first.
Mm-hmm.
Understanding the tools and the medium, and being clear about your intention and the vision for the piece.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, it's wide open. When you were talking, I was reminded of my first day in high school at the University of Chicago Laboratory High School. The first day, the entering class was divided into two. The whole class was only 100, right? So 50 of us were in the experimental group, 50 in the standard group. I was in the experimental group. I was given a blank sheet of paper and a pencil. And I was told that over the course of the term, I would figure out where this was, what was going on there, and how did it change over 100, 200, 300 years. And the rest of the course was involved in discovering geology, archaeology, agriculture, money, urbanization, and all the time filling in this blank piece of paper, right? And and at the end of the term, each of us in this group came up with a map and identified this map as the Fertile Triangle, and here was the Tigris, and here was the Euphrates, and this here was Babylon, and but that is the kernel that really helped to shape my mind, right? That through a process of research and discovery and inquiry, we could figure out some very large issues, problems, history and whatnot. And it was critical in my development. That one little thing that is probably now standard in many curricula. This combination. The other thing was it's a combination of disciplines. Mm-hmm. Social sciences, physical sciences, it was all taught together. And it really instilled in me, and I'm sure the other members of this group, a sense of critical thinking and exploration. And our personal ability to find out things and to use that information to do something.
Executive functioning skills.
Yes, it was really really life changing in that regard. And so the current technologies, to me, provide that sort of agency and ability. If and for designers, creatives, makers, they provide that opportunity and the tools to make things that do fit and that do achieve, desired goals.
If they will use their imagination. It just seems that so much of what's out there just lacks imagination. It's lazy, really. That what you described, Phil, is utilizing your imagination, and I think that's what I know that's what we've intended to do, and hopefully we've succeeded in that.
It's fascinating to hear you say that, Philip, because that is something that I have been yearning for as a teacher for years. This idea of a teacher getting up in front of students and just teaching at them isn't going to work anymore. You know what I mean? It's kids don't want to be taught. They want to be led towards the information and discover it themselves. So in my mind, in a perfect world for a classroom, even as at the elementary level that I'm at, is you have everything laid in such a way that, and then you just kind of spark their interest in some way, give them something to self-discover whatever concept you're teaching, and they learn it themselves. Yeah. Kids are more apt to actually hone in on something and retain it, and for it to stick, if they're learning it themselves because they want to learn it, not because a teacher is telling them that they have to learn it. Right. And then on top of that, then those kids that get it faster than others will, which is inevitably going to happen, some kids are going to just click with it quicker than others, will then go ahead and help their fellow classmates, and they're teaching each other. And I think that video games are the next avenue for that to happen, because you have an unlimited resource. If we can get developers like you guys are already doing it, other developers on board to do something like this in the educational sphere, where they're opening Pandora's box with video game technology instead of a teacher having to put together. It's insane for a teacher to put something like that together for 30, 32 kids in one classroom when you're talking about physical things for them to discover. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But when you're doing it in the physical world, and you can have this collective of developers making things for kids to discover, interact with the world, maybe virtually, maybe in reality, and they self-discover, they self-teach, and they teach each other. I think that's the way education is going to go.
And that virtuality is a big part of it. The capability of multiple users simultaneous. I worked for several years in Second Life also.
Oh,
when it was just starting, if there were 100 people online simultaneous, that was a big deal, because it would slow down or crash or something, But again, it was a matter of the gadget. First of all, here was this amazing tool that I could fashion objects out of thin air, right, and build things, and it was real time and interactive, and wide open to however I wanted to deal with it. And I built several large scale projects in Second Life, and with both of them, I hosted lectures and visits by classrooms from UK, Germany, Australia, Japan, Brazil. Instructors would bring their whole class into this virtual environment and deal with it, and that was very exciting, and it is certainly a given for how these technologies get exploited in an educational environment.
Mm-hmm. And think what that would do for students culturally as well, because especially in America, kids have no idea what it's like in other countries. You know, all they see is what's in their history books, and they assume that those countries still look like that now, when in reality their countries look a lot more similar to what they have right here in America.
Right.
And just getting to know other students in other countries, learn about their culture, and not look at it as something that's weird. It's just something that's different, and it's okay that it's different. And I feel like that educational piece of it would just do so much for Americans, especially, to kind of have cultural awareness.
Amen. Thank you, Scott.
Well, this has been a really awesome conversation. Zach, do you have anything to add, or any questions you have? I know you're not a teacher.
I'm not as educationally oriented. I could say as a former sleeping class kid. What you're describing sounds a lot better.
I mean, it's just the way it's got to go. I mean, and I don't mean to talk down on my profession, but it's getting tougher out there. I feel like when I was a kid, and the 2 generations above me were saying, I weep for the future. You guys have no attention span, and I just want to go back to those people and say, you guys have no idea. I can't go 5 minutes without my class talking over me, without them staring and fiddling with anything. I got a girl that cuts up erasers in my classroom instead of paying attention to class.
On the plus side, Scott, in 2 more generations, they'll probably look even better.
Yeah, right.
I'm just saying, it's always cyclical. You always pick on the generations after you.
Correct, and everybody's favorite time of their life is when they were in their teens or early 20s, right? That's when life was the grandest.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
but that very issue is the challenge to makers.
Mm-hmm.
How do you overcome that, and exploit that for a certain intention and goal? Right, that's the challenge.
Right, and to me, technology is the way to move forward with educational for that very reason. I have a good friend of mine that is a teacher in the city of Rockford as well. She used to be actually in my school, and she always says, we have to get past this idea that school has to be the same way it was for us when we were kids. This idea of row upon row upon row of kids sitting and listening to one teacher talk for 45 minutes for a lesson just isn't going to work. And she further goes on to say, would you go to a doctor that brags about the fact that they practice medicine the same way they did 20 years ago? You would never go to that doctor ever again if they're not educating themselves and updating and constantly making themselves better and keeping up with the times with a doctor. But for some reason, with education, we are perfectly fine doing the same things over and over and over and over again. And that's got to change. And I think video games is the natural way to make that happen.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I'll get off my soapbox. I'm sorry, but I think that's all. That should do it, guys. I really appreciate you coming and
we appreciate you.
This has been a really fun conversation for me. I really enjoyed your game, and I'm going to do my best to spread the word. And I wish you guys all the best on the sales for this game. I hope that we can make something happen for you.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Zach, very much. Very, very
Thank
much.
you, guys. I think Time Machine Bronzeville is great because it's important, but also it's fun, and that's kind of key to the.
There you go. I need to write that down.
Just got a box quote, Zach. I think I'm going to put that on the back of the box.
Exactly. Thanks.
All right, gentlemen. Well, you have a wonderful rest of your evening, and once again, I really appreciate it, and hope everybody enjoyed this conversation as well.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you.
Take care.
All right. Thanks again. I really appreciate those guys coming and chatting with us. It was a really great conversation. That is going to do it for this episode of The Gaming Outsider. Next week, we are going to be talking about whether or not game journalism is dead. We had some interesting news this past week, and I am looking forward to that conversation. Thanks so much for listening. This episode was produced by Kevin Honigford, and all the music you hear is written and performed by Grant Henry of Stemage and Metroid Metal. His website, again, is stemagemusic.com. Please be sure to email us if you have any questions or concerns. Our address is feedback@thegamingoutsider.com. Zach, do you have any parting words or recommendations for our listeners?
Yes, I just saw Viggo Mortensen's new movie that he wrote, directed, starred in, produced, and composed. The Dead Don't Hurt, a Western.
Pain don't hurt either.
I don't understand the reference. And I won't
Roadhouse?
to it. Oh my God. Yeah, I guess I get it now. Didn't see that coming. Anyway, yeah, it's kind of a romance Western about Viggo Mortensen and his wife Vivian, and they're making a home for themselves. But Viggo Mortensen's character, Olsen, feels the pull to join the Union Army to help fight against slavery. He feels it, and it's a lot about the hold that honor has over men and the stupidity that it causes in them. And it's kind of and I guess I didn't expect this from the trailers. It's very much a feminist or female forward Western.
Oh, cool.
Most so yeah, there you go. So most of the runtime of the movie is from Vivian's perspective. And the movie does a really cool thing where Olsen, Viggo Mortensen's character, he's in the present. Everything we see from when he's like the focus of the camera, that's in the present, and then when she's the focus of the camera, it's in the past.
Oh wow, that's really clever.
Yeah, and it's a very cool way to tell a story, and it's a nice way. They helpfully, in case you would get confused, he's got a big old beard in the present, so it's kind of easy to tell when what is happening. But it's really nice, and they have a really great romance and really excellent on-screen chemistry, and it's just I think it's a great movie with you could feel the passion in the filmmaking, and it's got a message it wants to tell, and it does, but it's not in a preachy way or anything. But it does a great job. When the violence comes, it's brutal and it's quick, much like it should be. Just a really great movie all around. The Dead Don't Hurt.
Nice. Very cool. Alyssa, how about you?
Of course. It's a K-drama recommendation. Alyssa's K Corner.
I would expect nothing less. K Corner.
I like it. We should make that the official sound. It's a series. It's a newer series. Came out in 2022. Called My Liberation Notes, and I just vibe with this so much because it's basically millennial introverts going through existential crises. The K-drama. I'm like, I identify with every character so much, and I don't know if I should be, like, excited about that or not. It's just like, this family, there's 2 daughters and a son, they're in their late 20s, early 30s. They live in a small town in Korea, with their parents still, and they have to commute to Seoul to work, so they're all kind of frustrated with living in a small town. They're also all single, and they're kind of like, am I ever going to find anyone? Am I just going to stay single and live in this small town with my parents for the rest of my life? And I feel like that all the time. So I'm like, oh God, I found my show.
Oh no, it hits too close to home.
Except I don't have a brother. I have a sister, but she's 18 years older than me. That's beside the point. It's just a very relaxed show. The pace is very slow, but it's just, you get so connected to these characters, and I'm halfway through it now, and things are starting to pick up, but I actually appreciate the slower pace and really getting to know the characters and what they want and what they're trying to achieve, but they can't achieve or they haven't achieved it yet, and it's just, I don't know, it's comforting in a way. Like, you don't feel as alone if you're going through the same things that they are. So, yeah, it's just it's comfy, kind of cozy, but also it is sad at points series, so I think a lot of people would actually vibe with it if they'd give it a chance. But yeah, that's my liberation notes on Netflix.
There you go. I got a music recommendation. Kevin turned me onto this band called Wage War. They have a new album that's coming out in this month, June 21st, and they've released the first 3 tracks, or not first 3, but it's like 3 of the tracks. And one of them I really like a lot. This is a metal band, pretty heavy. The song is called Tombstone. If you like heavy rock music, it's not.
You said Tombstone. You peaked the Western.
Yeah.
Who's your Huckleberry in the song?
I really dig that song. I've been listening to a lot more metal as of lately, and it's got a really cool riff to it. So that is my recommendation.
Does the metal help you get through the end of the school year?
It does.
With that aggression flow.
Yeah.
I love that this week I gave a Western recommendation. Alyssa gave a K-drama recommendation, and Scott gave a music recommendation. We're in full form this week, guys.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Pretty much. So yeah. Anyway, it was awesome chatting with you guys. We cannot do this. We cannot go another week without doing this. I missed this way too much. So.
Yeah. What a behemoth of an episode to return to. I guess we.
Yeah. Right.
Oh,
we didn't even talk about. We didn't even talk about all the games we played. We still had more. We're gonna put off till next week. So.
Right. Yeah.
All right. Well, my name is Scott Clark with Zach Parkerson and Alyssa White, and we are The Gaming Outsider. And remember, there's no such thing as a bad game, just games that aren't for you.